This man was literally God. Not oh he's so strong God, actual God, omnipotent, could erase your whole existence before you finished your sentence. And his only problem? Two voices in his head that wouldn't shut the hell up long enough to let him do it. Let's go.
The village was dying, not slowly. Not the way villages die from famine or politics or time. Konoha was dying the way a sandcastle dies when the ocean decides it's done tolerating it. In violent, screaming, all-at-once fashion. Buildings folded like paper. The earth split into jagged teeth, and above it all, towering against the blood-red sky like a nightmare given fur and muscle, the nine-tailed fox opened its mouth and gathered enough chakra to erase the village from geography entirely. People ran. Shinobi fought. The Hokage barked orders that nobody could hear over the sound of a mountain-sized fox roaring hard enough to flatten trees 2 miles out. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, threw everything he had. Gamabunta crashed through the tree line. Minato Namikaze standing on the toad's head with the kind of expression a man wears when he's already decided how he's gonna die. Kushina Uzumaki was on the ground, blood on her lips, chains still glowing from her body, hooked into the fox's flesh, holding it barely. The seal was broken, the fox was free, and between her and the love of her life and the creature that wanted to kill everything, there was a blanket. Inside the blanket, a baby. Their baby. Naruto Uzumaki. Born maybe 20 minutes ago into the worst night Konoha had ever seen. Minato landed beside her. His hands were already forming the seals. The Reaper Death Seal, the technique that would cost him his soul, split the fox's chakra, seal half into himself and half into his newborn son. He'd already accepted it. Kushina had already screamed at him about it. The argument was over. There was no time. The nine tails reared back. Its claw came down, a wall of black fur and killing intent aimed directly at the baby. Kushina threw herself over the blanket. Minato threw himself over Kushina. They were going to die as a shield. The claw fell and stopped, not blocked, not redirected, not caught by a jutsu or a barrier or a summoning. It just stopped. Like gravity forgot which direction it worked. Like the air between the claw and the family became something other than air, something dense and absolute and fundamentally unwilling to be moved. The nine tails pushed, its muscles bulged, chakra flared around its arm in visible waves. Nothing. The claw didn't move. Not an inch, not a millimeter. The most powerful tailed beast in existence was pressing against something it could not identify, could not see, could not understand, and losing. Then the baby opened his eyes. The first thing anyone noticed, Minato noticed because he was the closest and his Hiraishin-sharpened reflexes meant his eyes adjusted faster than anyone else's, was that the baby's eyes were wrong. Not wrong like a mutation or a dojutsu, wrong like they didn't belong in a human skull. They were full of stars. Not metaphorically, actual stars, swirling galaxies, spiraling nebula, pinprick supernova detonating in irises that should have been blue. The baby looked up at the nine tails with the calm, ancient disinterest of something that had seen bigger. The fox felt it. For the first time in its eternal existence, the nine-tailed fox, Kurama, the walking catastrophe, the living natural disaster, felt fear. Not the tactical kind, not the this opponent is strong kind, the deep kind, the kind that lives in the base of the spine and whispers run in a voice older than language. Something behind those galaxy-filled eyes was looking at it. Something vast. Something that made the fox in all its apocalyptic glory feel very, very small. Kurama pulled its claw back. Not by choice. Its body moved on its own, the way a hand jerks from a hot stove before the brain processes the burn. Inside the baby's mind, inside a consciousness that should have held nothing but warmth and hunger and the vague awareness of existing, a conversation was already happening. The void was endless, black in every direction, with no floor and no ceiling and no walls. Stars dotted the distance like someone had scattered salt across velvet, and in this void stood three presences. The first was massive. Not tall, massive. A being of red-black energy, seething, pulsing, radiating fury the way a furnace radiates heat. Its voice sounded like continents grinding together. This was Bellicus, the voice of rage and aggression. He had been here since before time had a name, and he had exactly one opinion about everything. Destroy it. The second was light, not bright, Light, a being of white gold radiance, gentle, infinite, patient in the way that oceans are patient. Her voice sounded like wind through a cathedral. This was Serena, the voice of love and compassion. She had been here just as long as Bellicus, and she had exactly one opinion about everything. Save it. Between them, small and new and somehow already exhausted, floated a third presence. A soul. Fresh, bright, annoyed. This was Naruto, the voice of reason, the tiebreaker, the decision maker. The fox attacked us, Bellicus growled, and the void trembled. Erase it, wipe it from existence. Scatter its atoms across 17 dimensions and let whatever's left scream in the quantum foam. It's in pain, Serena said, and the stars pulsed gently. It was ripped from its host. It's confused and hurting and lashing out. Save the village, save the fox. Both can be done. Naruto, or whatever this infant soul was, already carrying the weight of an omnipotent existence he hadn't asked for, considered. His presence flickered, a baby making a cosmic decision. There was something deeply, absurdly funny about it, and something deeply, absurdly sad. Seal it, he said. His voice was small but clear. Inside me, keep it contained. Don't destroy it, don't let it destroy anything else. Bellicus snarled. Weak, Serena smiled. Kind. Vote, Naruto said. Seal the fox. Compress it, contain it, protect the village. Fine, but if it causes problems later, I'm revisiting this. Agreed. Agreed. Motion carried. In the physical world, the baby's eyes flared. The galaxy spun faster. The nine tails opened its mouth to roar, to attack, to do something, and then it was gone. Not sealed in the traditional sense. Not drawn into a complex Fuinjutsu array. The most powerful tailed beast on the planet was compressed, folded, reduced. Its chakra, its consciousness, its entire existence was squeezed down like a file being zipped on a cosmic hard drive, packed into a sphere the size of a marble, and deposited somewhere deep in the baby's gut with the casual efficiency of someone putting leftovers in the fridge. No hand signs, no summoning the Shinigami, no splitting the chakra into yin and yang, no sacrificial technique, no cost, just a baby deciding how the night would end. The sky cleared. The oppressive chakra vanished like a TV being switched off. The fires still burned, but the source of them was gone. Konoha's worst night ended not with a heroic sacrifice, but with a newborn blinking once, closing his galaxy-filled eyes and going back to looking like a perfectly normal baby who wanted milk and a nap. Minato Namikaze was still alive. He was still crouched over Kushina and Naruto, arms braced, teeth clenched, ready to die. His Hiraishin markers were still active. The Reaper Death Seal was half-formed in his hands. He had committed every fiber of his being to a sacrifice that didn't happen. Slowly, he opened his eyes. The fox was gone. The night was quiet. His wife was breathing. His son was sleeping. Kushina looked up at him with blood still drying on her chin and chains still glowing from her back. Minato. Yeah. What just happened? I don't know. They both looked at the baby. Naruto was sleeping, completely, peacefully, impossibly sleeping. A thin trail of drool was already forming at the corner of his mouth. He looked like every other newborn in the history of newborns, except for the part where he just compressed an apocalypse into a marble using nothing but whatever the hell was behind those eyes. Kushina grabbed Minato's arm. Her grip was shaking. Her voice was barely a whisper. Minato, what is our son? The fourth Hokage, the Yellow Flash, the fastest shinobi alive, the man who could process battlefield information at light speed, had no answer. He picked up his son gently. Naruto yawned. A tiny, perfect, completely normal baby yawn. Minato held him close and said nothing. Because sometimes, when you're holding a newborn who just casually solved a cataclysm that was supposed to kill you, silence is the only honest response. They went home that night. Both of them, alive, together with their son. Hiruzen Sarutobi arrived at the scene 20 minutes later, Anbu in tow, expecting to find bodies and sealing arrays, and the tragic aftermath of the fourth Hokage's sacrifice. Instead, he found a crater where the fox had stood, a suspiciously calm sky, and Minato's Hiraishin marker still stuck to a tree with no one attached to it. It took him 3 hours to find Minato and Kushina at their house, eating leftover rice and staring at their sleeping baby with expressions that mixed complete love with complete terror. The fox? Hiruzen asked from their doorway. Sealed, Minato said. How? Long pause. Naruto did it. Hiruzen looked at the baby. The baby was asleep. The baby was drooling. The baby was, by all external evidence, a baby. I'll need a full report, the third Hokage said. Yeah, Minato said. Me too. Naruto Uzumaki grew up in Konoha with two living parents, a sealed fox in his gut, and two ancient cosmic voices permanently arguing inside his skull. On the scale of unusual childhoods, his was somewhere between raised by wolves and literally hosting a celestial parliament in his brain. Here's the thing about being the reincarnation of a celestial sapien. An omnipotent, reality-warping, universe-class entity from beyond the omniverse, trapped in the body of a hyperactive blonde kid in a ninja village. It's not as fun as it sounds. In fact, it's mostly frustrating. Because Naruto couldn't do anything. Couldn't scratch his nose, couldn't pick up a pencil, couldn't sneeze cosmically, without getting a unanimous vote from all three voices. And Bellicus and Serena agreed on exactly nothing. Ever. Bellicus wanted to fight everything. The mailman, the academy teachers, clouds that looked at him funny. His entire cosmic existence was dedicated to the principle that if something exists, it should probably be destroyed, and if it shouldn't be destroyed, it should at least be threatened convincingly. Serena wanted to love everything. The mailman deserved kindness. The academy teachers deserved patience. The clouds were beautiful and should be appreciated. Her entire cosmic existence was dedicated to the principle that compassion was the answer to every question, even questions that hadn't been asked yet. Naruto stood between them, every single day, trying to broker deals between rage and love, while also remembering to eat breakfast and brush his teeth. His childhood was a series of snapshots. Here are the important ones. Age 4. Academy playground. 3 older kids, second years who'd heard the whispers about the Fox kid, decided Naruto was an easy target. They surrounded him near the swings. The leader, a pudgy boy with more confidence than common sense, poked Naruto in the chest. Hey, demon brat, you shouldn't even be here. Naruto's body went still. Not scared still, processing still. Because the moment the pokey landed, Bellicus woke up. That child just touched us. Disintegrate him. Bellicus, he's 7, Serena said. He poked us. Children poke. It's what they do. We should talk to him. Understand his fear. I'll give him something to fear. We're not disintegrating a 7-year-old, Naruto said. Why not? Bellicus demanded. Because Mom would kill us. Your mother cannot kill us. We are omnipotent. You haven't seen her with a ladle. The argument went on and on and on. 45 minutes of cosmic scale debate about whether to obliterate a playground bully, counsel him with universal compassion, or just walk away. In the physical world, Naruto stood completely frozen. The 3 bullies were still there. The pudgy kid had poked him again, twice, then waited, then poked again, then started to get uncomfortable because Naruto hadn't blinked in 6 minutes. Are you okay? No response. Naruto's eyes were slightly unfocused. The galaxies were barely visible, spinning slowly behind his pupils, but the kids couldn't see that. What they could see was a boy standing completely motionless for an unreasonably long time while staring at nothing. This is creepy, one of the bullies whispered. Poke him again, the leader said. You poke him. 20 more minutes passed. Finally, the vote came through. Walk away. Serena and Naruto voted yes. Bellicus voted no, but was overruled. Naruto's eyes refocused. He looked at the 3 kids who were now sitting on the ground playing cards because they'd gotten bored waiting. Sorry, Naruto said. Administrative issues. The kids looked up at him. Something about his eyes. Just for a second, a flicker, made all 3 of them feel very small. They ran. They did not bother him again. Naruto went home and told Kushina about his day. Kushina hugged him and made ramen. Inside his head, Bellicus was still grumbling about letting the pokey go unpunished. Serena was humming. Age 6. Academy written exam. Standard stuff. Basic chakra theory, village history, kunai angles. Naruto sat at his desk, pencil in hand, staring at the paper with the specific blankness of someone who hadn't studied because his night was spent mediating a 4-hour debate about whether stars had feelings. Inside his head, he didn't study. I feel terrible. Can we help him? Bellicus, let him fail. Suffering builds character. He's 6. Character doesn't have an age requirement. Naruto, if you both shut up for 30 seconds, I can actually read the questions. Oh, let me help. I know the answers. You know the answers to a basic academy exam? I know the answers to everything. I just don't usually bring it up because Bellicus calls it showing off. Bellicus, it is showing off. Vote, Naruto said. Serena feeds me the answers, quietly, without a speech about compassion. Does this mean we leave faster? Yes, motion carried. Motion carried. In the physical world, Naruto's pencil moved. Every answer perfectly correct. Not just correct, detailed, thorough. The kind of answers that made Iruka Umino pick up the paper afterward, read it 3 times, hold it up to the light to check for genjutsu, and then sit at his desk for 20 minutes in silence. Naruto got a perfect score. He was the only student in the class to get a perfect score. He was also the only student who fell asleep at his desk immediately after finishing because he was exhausted from the pre-exam mindscape negotiations. Iruka watched him sleep. Iruka was deeply unsettled. Iruka was going to need a drink tonight, age 8. Minato decided it was time to teach Naruto the Rasengan, father-son bonding, passing down the legacy, a beautiful, meaningful shinobi tradition. They went to the training field behind the house. Minato demonstrated. The blue chakra spiral in his palm, dense, powerful, the signature technique of the 4th Hokage. He showed Naruto the steps, rotation, power, containment, 3 stages, each requiring weeks of dedicated practice. It took me 3 years to develop this technique, Minato said, smiling with the proud warmth of a dad about to teach his son something special. And it might take you a while to learn it, so don't be discouraged if... Naruto raised his hand. A perfect Rasengan formed in his palm, immediately. No practice, no stages, no water balloon exercises. Just a flawless spinning sphere of compressed chakra, stable and dense and humming with energy. Minato's smile froze. Like this? Naruto asked. Yes, exactly like that. Inside Naruto's head, Bellicus was already bored. This is too small. Make it bigger. Serena, it's fine the size it is. Bellicus, bigger. Bellicus, don't. Too late. Bellicus pushed. The Rasengan in Naruto's hand swelled, doubled, tripled, kept going. In 3 seconds, the Rasengan was the size of a small building, a roaring, blinding sphere of compressed chakra that carved a crater into the training ground and sent shockwaves flattening the grass in every direction. Minato grabbed Kushina, who had been watching from the porch with a cup of tea, and Hiraishined both of them 30 feet away in a yellow flash. They stared at the massive Rasengan. It pulsed once, twice, then Naruto closed his hand and it vanished. The training ground had a new hole in it, a big one. Naruto looked at his hand, looked at his parents. Sorry, one of the committee members got excited. Minato and Kushina did not speak for a long time. Then Kushina said, very calmly, "Dinner's in an hour," and walked back inside. Minato stood in the ruined training ground, staring at the crater, doing math in his head that didn't add up to any answer he recognized. That night, Kushina sat on the edge of their bed and said, "Our son is something else, Minato." Minato, lying on his back and staring at the ceiling, said, "I know. Something really, really else. I know. I love him completely. Me too. But sometimes when he looks at me, I feel like I'm looking at the sky and the sky is looking back." Minato turned his head to her. "I know." They held hands. They didn't talk about it anymore. Some things don't fit into words. Age 9. Kushina decided to teach Naruto about the Uzumaki chakra chains, her legacy, her power, the golden chains that could suppress even the tailed beasts. She'd used them the night of Naruto's birth, and she wanted her son to carry that tradition forward. She sat him down in the living room. She explained the theory, the Uzumaki bloodline, the unique density of their chakra, the emotional trigger. She was passionate, detailed, enthusiastic, hands waving, voice rising, the full Kushina experience inside Naruto's head. She's trying so hard. We should pay attention and encourage her. This is irrelevant. We can create chains from nothing. We can create anything from nothing. Why are we listening to a lecture about chains? Because she's my mom and she's happy. Ugh. Vote. We sit here, nod, and let her finish. Yes, I abstain. You can't abstain. I just did. That's not how this works. Fine. Yes, but I'm going to be angry about it. When are you not? Motion carried. Naruto sat politely, nodded at every point, asked questions he already knew the answers to because it made Kushina light up. She demonstrated the chains. He clapped. She hugged him. Bellicus seethed silently. Serena glowed. Sometimes being omnipotent means choosing to be small, so the people you love can feel big. Naruto understood that instinctively. He didn't need a vote for it, he just knew. Age 12, graduation day. Naruto tied the forehead protector around his head and looked at himself in the mirror. Blonde hair, blue eyes, normal blue for now, whisker marks on his cheeks, orange jumpsuit that Kushina had tried to replace 12 times and given up on because Serena liked the color. "We're a ninja now," Naruto said to the mirror. "We've always been more than a ninja," Bellicus said. "Let him have this," Serena said. Naruto grinned. It was a real grin. A normal 12-year-old, excited about the future grin. Under the omnipotence and the cosmic debates and the galaxy eyes, Naruto Uzumaki was still a kid who wanted to be a ninja. He wanted teammates. He wanted missions. He wanted to eat ramen after a hard day and come home to his parents and feel like he belonged. The fact that he could rewrite the fabric of reality with a majority vote was, in his mind, secondary. In Bellicus's mind, it was absolutely primary. But Bellicus had been outvoted on that topic several hundred times, so he'd learned to grumble quietly. Team assignments. Iruka read the list. Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno. Junin Sensei, Kakashi Hatake. Naruto looked at his teammates. Sasuke, dark, brooding, radiating don't talk to me energy with the intensity of a signal flare. Sakura, bright, nervous, radiating please notice me Sasuke, energy with equal intensity. Both of them glanced at Naruto. Both of them looked away. Inside his head, Bellicus, the dark one has potential for destruction. I approve. The girl is sweet. We should be kind to her. Can you both just let me have a normal first day, please? Define normal. No votes, no cosmic debate, just being a regular genin for one afternoon. There was a pause, a long, unprecedented pause. Then, one afternoon. Naruto smiled. Motion carried. Kakashi was late, 3 hours late. He strolled in with his book and his mask and his one visible eye curved in a smile that said, "I don't care about your time or your feelings. My first impression of you all," Kakashi said, looking at Team 7 with the enthusiasm of someone watching paint dry, "is that I hate you." Sakura deflated. Sasuke's eye twitched. Naruto snorted. Inside his head, Bellicus said, "I like this one." The next morning, Training Ground 7, the bell test, Kakashi stood in the clearing with 2 bells dangling from his waist. He'd read the files on all 3 students the night before. Sasuke Uchiha, top of the class, Sharingan bloodline, anger issues. Sakura Haruno, textbook smart, physically average, emotionally compromised. Naruto Uzumaki, son of the 4th Hokage and Kushina Uzumaki, Jinchuriki of the 9 Tails, and subject of a classified incident report that Kakashi tried to read 4 times and still didn't fully believe. "The rules are simple," Kakashi said. "Get a bell. If you don't have a bell by noon, you fail. Come at me with the intent to kill, or you won't get close." Sasuke moved first, fast, textbook perfect shuriken throw into a spinning kick into a low sweep. Kakashi dodged everything casually, one hand in his pocket, eyes still reading the book. Good instincts, Kakashi thought. Raw, unrefined, but real. Sakura hesitated, analyzed, looked for an opening, found none, retreated into the bushes. Smart, Kakashi thought. At least she knows her limits. Naruto stood still. Kakashi glanced at him. The boy was standing in the center of the clearing, hands in his pockets, staring at nothing. His eyes were slightly unfocused. His body was perfectly, unnervingly still. The kind of stillness that didn't look like freezing. It looked like waiting. Kakashi processed this. The file had mentioned episodes. Moments where Naruto would go completely motionless for extended periods, unresponsive to external stimuli, and then suddenly act with precision that defied his age and training. Minato's notes, personal, not official, described it as internal deliberation. Kakashi had assumed it was a polite way of saying, the kid zones out. He wasn't sure about that anymore. Something about the stillness felt heavy, intentional, like the air around the boy had gotten denser. Kakashi decided to test it. He closed his book, dropped his stance, and charged directly at Naruto. Full Junin speed, no holding back, a straight rush designed to test reaction time. In Naruto's mindscape, the debate was already happening. "I need to pass this test," Naruto said. Bellicus was practically vibrating with excitement. "The silver-haired man is attacking. Vaporize him, reduce him to his component quarks, scatter those quarks across the..." "He's our teacher," Serena said gently. "Just take the bells." Gently. Naruto considered for exactly 1.2 seconds. Teleport the bells. Off his waist. Into my hand. No contact. No violence. Clean. That's boring. That's efficient. Same thing? Vote? Yes. Yes. Belkus, you're both terrible. Yes. Motion carried. In the physical world, Naruto's eyes flickered, just for an instant, a fraction of a second, barely visible unless you were looking directly at his irises. The blue was gone and the stars were there, spiraling, ancient, deep. The bells vanished from Kakashi's waist, not cut, not stolen, not grabbed by a fast hand or a substitution jutsu or a cleverly placed wire. They were on Kakashi's hip, and then they were not. And then they were in Naruto's open palm. Jingling softly in the morning air, Kakashi stopped mid-charge. His hand went to his waist. Empty. He looked at Naruto. The boy was holding both bells between his fingers like he'd picked them from a tree. The clearing was silent. Kakashi looked at his waist again. At Naruto. At the bells. At his waist. At Naruto. His single visible eye blinked 3 times. We passed, Naruto said. From the tree line, Sasuke emerged. He'd seen it, or rather he'd seen nothing, which was worse. 1 second the bells were on Kakashi, the next they were in Naruto's hand. No movement, no technique, no chakra signature, just a result with no process. How did you do that? Sasuke demanded. Teamwork, Naruto said, which was technically true if you counted Bellicus and Serena as teammates. Sakura stepped out of the bushes. Wait, what happened? We passed? Kakashi was quiet for a very long time. His mind was running through every explanation he knew. Genjutsu, space-time ninjutsu, advanced sealing techniques, illusions, and none of them fit. There had been no chakra expenditure. None. His Sharingan, hidden under the headband, had felt nothing. The bells had simply relocated. Genjutsu, Kakashi finally said. It was not a statement, it was a prayer. Naruto sighed, the most exhausted, world-weary sigh ever produced by a 12-year-old. Sure, Genjutsu. Kakashi stared at him for 10 more seconds. Then he smiled under his mask, or at least his eye curved up, and said, You pass. That afternoon, Kakashi visited Minato's office. The 4th Hokage was behind his desk doing paperwork, looking like a normal village leader, and not like a man whose son had casually broken the law's physics during a Genin exam. Kakashi. Lord 4th. How was the test? Your son teleported the bells off my waist. Minato's pen stopped moving. He set it down. He didn't look up. He didn't use any jutsu, Kakashi continued. He didn't move. He didn't flare any chakra. The bells were just in his hand. Long silence. Kakashi, Minato said, very carefully. What I'm about to tell you is classified above S rank. Kushina and I are the only who know the full picture, and even we don't understand most of it. I'm listening. Our son is more than a Jinchuriki. The night the fox attacked, Naruto sealed it himself. Not with a jutsu, not with a technique. He was minutes old, he just did it. And since then, he's exhibited abilities that don't correspond to any known bloodline, Keikai Genkai, or chakra phenomenon. He goes still sometimes, completely unresponsive, and when he comes back, things happen. Things that shouldn't be possible. What kind of things? Minato finally looked up. His eyes, the same blue as Naruto's minus the galaxies, were tired. I once watched him change the weather in our backyard because Kushina mentioned she wanted sunshine for the laundry. Kakashi absorbed this. And you don't know what he is? No. Should I be scared? Minato smiled. It was thin. He's my son, Kakashi. He likes ramen and bad jokes, and he wants to be a great ninja. Whatever else he is, he's still that. Kakashi nodded. He left the office. He went home and stared at his ceiling for several hours. Team 7's first real mission came a week later. C-rank escort to the land of waves. Tazuna the bridge builder, cheap sock on his breath, and an attitude that suggested he'd rather be literally anywhere else. Standard stuff. Easy stuff. Walk, protect, come home. It was not standard stuff. It was not easy stuff. Kakashi sensed the ambush before it happened. Demon brothers, shonen-level missing nin, hiding in a puddle on a dry road. Classic misdirection. He let it play out to test his team's reactions. The demon brothers burst from the puddle, chains flying, wrapping around Kakashi in a spiral of razor-linked steel. They pulled. Kakashi appeared to shred. Sasuke moved immediately. Kunai, kick, textbook counter. One demon brother down, tangled in his own chains. The other lunged at Tazuna. Sakura threw herself in front of the client, which was brave and almost fatally stupid. Naruto hadn't moved. Not because he was scared, because the debate was happening at lightning speed, bellicose. Two attackers, destroy both. Serena, they're being controlled. Look at their eyes, they're terrified under the masks, incapacitate, don't kill. Naruto, Kakashi's fine, he substituted. Sasuke handled one, I just need to stop the other before he reaches Sakura. The second demon brother was 3 feet from Sakura. His clawed gauntlet was raised, Sakura's eyes were wide. Tazuna was behind her, frozen. Vote, stop the attacker. Non-lethal. Non-lethal is a waste of omnipotence. Vote. Fine, yes. Yes, yes. Motion carried, Naruto blinked. The demon brother's clawed gauntlet turned into a rubber chicken. Just the gauntlet. Everything else stayed the same. The chain, the stance, the momentum, all identical. But instead of a razor-sharp claw aimed at Sakura's face, there was now a bright yellow rubber chicken squeaking harmlessly against her forehead. Everyone froze. The demon brother looked at his hand, looked at the chicken, squeezed it. It squeaked. He squeezed it again. Squeak. Sakura blinked, looked at the chicken touching her face, looked at the demon brother, looked at Naruto. Kakashi appeared behind the demon brother and knocked him unconscious with a single chop. He picked up the rubber chicken, examined it, squeezed it, squeak. Naruto, Kakashi said. Yeah? Was this you? I don't know what you're talking about. Inside his head, Bellicus was fuming. A rubber chicken. You used omnipotent power to create a rubber chicken. Serena was laughing. Actually laughing. The void echoed with it. It was non-lethal and funny. Naruto, motion was carried. Results were achieved. Moving on. The mission continued. Tazuna came clean about the real danger. Gato, the shipping magnate, was trying to kill him to stop the bridge that would free Wave Country from economic stranglehold. The real threat level was way above C rank. A rank? Maybe higher. Kakashi gave the team the option to turn back. Sasuke said nothing. His eyes said everything. He wasn't turning back. Sakura looked scared but stood her ground. Naruto said, "We keep going. No debate needed." All three voices agreed instantly. Bellicus because he wanted a real fight, Serena because the people of Wave needed help, and Naruto because it was the right thing to do. For once, the system worked perfectly. The land of waves was gray, mist everywhere, poverty everywhere. The bridge, half finished, stretched out over dark water like a broken promise. Tazuna's fear was real. The people's suffering was real. Even Sasuke's perpetual scowl softened slightly when they saw children with 2 thin arms and 2 old eyes. They reached the bridge the next morning. The mist was thicker than it should have been. Kakashi's hand went to his headband immediately. "Get behind me, all of you." A voice from the mist. Low, hungry, carrying killing intent like a physical weight. Kakashi of the Sharingan. I've been looking forward to this. Zabuza Momochi materialized from the fog like a nightmare stepping off a canvas. Massive sword across his back. The executioner's blade. A slab of sharpened steel that shouldn't be possible to swing, but somehow was. His eyes were flat and lethal above the wrappings covering his face. He radiated the specific kind of danger that made experienced shinobi reassess their life choices. Kakashi pushed his headband up. The Sharingan spun to life. Zabuza Momochi, demon of the hidden mist. So you know me. Zabuza pulled the executioner's blade from his back. It caught no light because there was no light, just mist and menace. Good. Then you know how this ends. Kakashi prepared to fight. Sasuke fell into a defensive stance. Sakura guarded Tazuna. Everything was happening exactly the way combat encounters were supposed to happen, except Naruto was standing on the surface of the water, not at the edge of the bridge. On the water itself, 15 feet out, hands in his pockets, perfectly balanced on the liquid surface without any visible chakra output. He was looking at Zabuza with an expression that did not belong on a 12-year-old's face. It was patient, curious, slightly bored. Zabuza noticed him, dismissed him, focused on Kakashi. Hidden mist jutsu. The fog tripled. Visibility dropped to 0. Zabuza's killing intent multiplied, concentrated and weaponized, pressing against the genin like a physical force. Sakura dropped to one knee. Even Sasuke's breathing hitched. Naruto felt none of it. Killing intent at the scale of his existence was like a mosquito trying to intimidate the sun. Zabuza moved. Silent killing technique, his specialty. He appeared behind Kakashi, sword already swinging, a horizontal cut aimed at neck height. The executioner's blade carved through the air with enough force to bisect a building. In Naruto's mindscape, the vote happened in 0.3 seconds. A record bellicus. The swordsman will kill our teacher. Act. Serena. Protect Kakashi. Naruto agreed. Motion carried. Unanimous. Instant. The executioner's blade connected with something invisible. Not a wall. Not a barrier. The air itself in the 6-inch space between the blade and Kakashi's neck became something other than air. It became absolute. Dense beyond density. The blade stopped dead, and the vibration from the impact traveled back through the handle and up Zabuza's arms with enough force to numb his fingers. Zabuza stumbled back. His eyes widened behind the wrappings. He looked at the spot where his blade had stopped. Empty air, nothing there, nothing visible. And then he looked at the only person who hadn't reacted to anything, the kid standing on the water. "I'd stop," Naruto said. His voice carried through the mist without effort, clear and calm and somehow louder than the ocean below them. Zabuza was not a man who stopped. Zabuza was a man who had attempted a coup at 14, slaughtered his entire graduating class as a child, and defected from his village with no allies and no regrets. Zabuza did not stop for anyone. "You're a kid," he said. "Yeah," Naruto said. Zabuza attacked again, full speed. The executioner's blade came down in a vertical slash that would split Naruto from skull to navel. It was the killing stroke of a man who had ended hundreds of lives with this exact movement. Inside Naruto's head, bellicus, he attacked us twice. "I want to do something creative." "Don't kill him." "Naruto, how creative?" "Turn the sword into something humiliating." Naruto hesitated, then grinned in the mindscape. "Vote, matter dissolution, but make it funny." Bellicus, "Yes." Define funny. Naruto, "Trust me." Motion carried. Naruto raised one hand toward the executioner's blade. Matter dissolution. The sword, 7 feet of legendary steel, one of the 7 swords of the mist, a weapon that had been bathed in the blood of countless enemies, turned into bubbles. Soap bubbles. Delicate, iridescent, drifting gently through the mist on a breeze that shouldn't have existed. They caught the muted light and refracted tiny rainbows as they floated away from Zabuza's hands. Zabuza was holding a hilt attached to nothing. He looked at it. He looked at the bubbles. One landed on his nose and popped. The silence that followed was so complete it could have been framed and hung in a museum. Kakashi lowered his guard. Sasuke's mouth was open. Sakura had stopped breathing. Tazuna was staring at the bubbles with the expression of a man who had just watched God make a joke. Then Naruto's skin began to change. It started at his hands, the flesh darkening, deepening, becoming the color of a starless night. The blackness crawled up his arms, spread across his chest and neck, and everywhere it touched, white points of light appeared. Stars. Actual, pinprick, gently pulsing stars embedded in his skin, like he was wearing the universe. 3 horn-like protrusions, subtle, angular, alien, began forming on his forehead, emerging from the dark like mountain peaks at dawn. His eyes were gone. In their place, galaxies. Full, swirling, infinite galaxies where blue irises used to be. When he spoke, his voice was his but also more, a triple echo, 3 tones layered into one, rage beneath, compassion above, reason in the center. "Go home, Zabuza, before the angry voice wins. He's been waiting all day." And Zabuza, the demon of the mist, the man who killed an entire class of children, who had never retreated from anything in his life, felt something he hadn't felt since he was a child himself. Fear. Not the tactical kind, the animal kind. The kind that lives below thought, below training, below ego. The kind that makes every cell in your body agree unanimously on one thing. Run. He dropped the hilt. He took a step back, then another. Then he was gone into the mist, moving fast, not because it was strategic, but because his body refused to stay. The transformation faded. The stars retreated. The horns dissolved. Naruto's skin returned to its normal tan. His eyes were blue again. He turned around and looked at his team. "What?" he said. Nobody answered. Nobody could. That night, Kakashi sat on the roof of Tazuna's house and tried to process what he'd seen. He couldn't. He'd been a shinobi since age 5, Anbu captain by 13. He'd seen S-rank jutsu, tailed beast transformations, forbidden techniques that bent the rules of nature. Nothing in his experience came close to what Naruto had done on that bridge. He thought about asking Naruto directly. Then he remembered the look in those galaxy eyes and decided he wasn't ready for the answer. The next encounter came 4 days later. Zabuza returned, bandaged, blade replaced with a standard sword, and he wasn't alone. Haku stood beside him. Young, beautiful, masked, radiating a cold precision that made the air crystallize, the bridge, the mist. Round 2. But it was different this time. Zabuza didn't engage Naruto at all. He went straight for Kakashi, and the fight that followed was real. 2 elite Junin trading blows with everything they had. Water Dragon Jutsu met Water Dragon Jutsu. Kakashi's Sharingan copied Zabuza's seals in real time. The bridge shook. The workers fled. Haku confronted Sasuke. Demonic mirroring ice crystals. The ice mirrors formed, a dome of reflective surfaces surrounding Sasuke, each one holding Haku's image. Needles flew from every direction. Sasuke dodged, countered, dodged again. He was fast. He was skilled. He was not fast enough. The needles started finding their marks, arms, legs, shoulders. Blood spotted the ice. Sakura screamed Sasuke's name. Inside the ice dome, Sasuke's Sharingan awakened, one Tomoe in each eye, spinning to life under the pressure of mortal danger. He could see the needles now, track them, predict them, but Haku was still faster. The gap was closing but not closed. A needle aimed at Sasuke's throat. It would have killed him. It didn't, because every needle in the dome stopped moving, not deflected, not blocked, stopped. Frozen in the air exactly where they were, the tips trembling slightly, as if the very concept of momentum had been revoked for these specific objects. They hung in the mist like a still photograph. Hundreds of senbon suspended mid-flight, forming a constellation of steel inside the ice dome. Naruto was standing at the entrance to the dome. He hadn't broken the ice. He hadn't melted it. He'd walked through it. The mirror he'd passed through was intact but different. Its surface now reflected stars instead of ice. He looked at Haku. Haku looked at him from every mirror at once. "You're not evil," Naruto said, but his voice was softer than it should have been. The triple echo was there, but the dominant tone was Serena's, warm, gentle, almost tender. "You're loyal. There's a difference." He looked at the suspended needles. "But you can't have him." "He is my enemy," Haku said from the mirrors. "I must—" "No," Naruto said, just the word, no elaboration, no speech. The needles dissolved, all of them. Steel to nothing like sugar and water. The ice mirrors cracked. Hairline fractures spreading across every surface, not from force, but from something deeper. The mirrors simply stopped being willing to exist. Haku dropped from the fractured dome, landed on the bridge, unmasked. Looking at Naruto with an expression that was not fear, exactly, but recognition. The recognition of someone who has just seen something they cannot fight, cannot flee from, and cannot understand. "What are you?" Haku whispered. Naruto looked at him for a long moment. Inside his head, Bellicus was quiet. Serena was quiet. They were all just looking at this kid, this tool, this weapon dressed as a boy, and feeling something that didn't require a vote. "Tired," Naruto said. "Mostly just tired." On the other end of the bridge, Zabuza's fight with Kakashi reached its conclusion, but not the way canon scripted it. Gato arrived with his army. 100 mercenaries blocking the bridge. The betrayal was the same. Gato never intended to pay Zabuza. The insult was the same. The cruelty was the same. But Zabuza's rage was different, deeper, because he'd seen something on this bridge, something in that boy's eyes that made him realize how small his life had been, how wasted. And in the face of that realization, Gato's smirking, oily betrayal was the last straw. Zabuza charged, kunai in his teeth, arms hanging useless and bleeding. He carved through the mercenaries like a demon, because that's what he was, the demon of the mist, and he hadn't earned that name through kindness. Gato fell. Zabuza fell beside him. Haku was at his side instantly. The snow was in the air, not from the weather. From Haku. Tiny ice crystals floating in the mist around the boy who was cradling the man who had been everything to him. Zabuza's hand found Haku's face. Rough fingers on smooth skin. "I should have told you," Zabuza said, his voice cracking at the edges. "You were never a tool, Haku, you were." He didn't finish. Didn't need to. His hand went limp. The mist lifted as if it had been waiting for permission. Haku didn't scream. Didn't cry dramatically. He just held Zabuza's hand against his cheek and closed his eyes, and the ice crystals in the air settled on both of them like a blanket. The bridge was quiet. Naruto watched. His face was unreadable. The team watched him watch the scene, and Kakashi, who was trained to read people, who had spent his life analyzing micro-expressions, could not figure out what Naruto was feeling. Later that night, When the bridge was done, and the village was celebrating, and Tazuna was drunkenly naming the bridge the Great Naruto Bridge, despite Naruto's protests, Kakashi found Naruto sitting on the edge of the bridge alone, feet hanging over the dark water. "Are you okay?" Kakashi asked. Naruto didn't look at him. Bellicus wanted to prevent it, save Zabuza, reverse the injuries. He said a warrior deserved a warrior's choice, not a meaningless death on a bridge. And Serena? Naruto paused. She said it was meant to happen, that Zabuza's death was his redemption, his last act of free will, that saving him would have stolen that from him. "What did you vote?" "I voted to let them choose their own end." He was quiet for a moment. We were tied, 2 different ideas, and I couldn't break the tie in time, because both of them were right. So I did nothing. The waves lapped against the bridge supports. The celebration noise drifted from the village behind them. "It's the part I hate most about being me," Naruto said. "The votes I can't cast." Kakashi sat down beside him. He didn't offer wisdom or comfort or a speech about the will of fire. He just sat there, 2 feet dangling over the water, and let the silence be enough. They went home the next day. The bridge was finished. Wave Country was free. Haku left on his own. Naruto had given him a choice, and Haku chose to walk the world and find his own purpose. The Ice Boy vanished into the mist like he'd been born from it. Back in Konoha, life resumed. Missions, training, ramen. The ordinary rhythm of a ninja village that had no idea one of its genin could fold space-time between bites of pork broth. The Chunin exams were announced 3 weeks later. Kakashi nominated Team 7. The exam was held in Konoha. Representatives from all 5 nations and several smaller villages. Hundreds of genin competing for promotion. The air buzzed with ambition and killing intent and teenage hormones, which was basically the same thing. The written exam, room 301. Ibiki Morino presiding, the head of Konoha's torture and interrogation force, a man whose face looked like a topographical map of suffering. He explained the rules. 10 questions, written. Cheat and get caught 5 times, your whole team is disqualified. The 10th question comes at the end. Around the room, genin began their elaborate cheating strategies. Sasuke activated his Sharingan to copy movements. Sakura didn't need to cheat. She was genuinely brilliant. Various other genin used insects, mirrors, sand eyes, sound frequencies, all manner of creative intelligence gathering. Naruto picked up his pencil. Inside his head, Serena, "I have the answers." Bellicus, "This is beneath us. Just give me the answers so I can go to sleep." Serena, "All of them?" "No, all of them. Vote." Motion carried. Serena fed him every answer, not just correct but perfectly articulated. Naruto's hand moved across the paper like he was taking dictation from the universe, which he was. 4 minutes. Done. He put his pencil down, folded his arms on the desk, and went to sleep. Ibiki had been watching the room through a series of concealed mirrors and hidden observers. He caught the cheaters. He noted the methods. He assessed the intelligence of every genin in the room. And then he noticed that Naruto Uzumaki had finished the exam in 4 minutes and was now sleeping. Ibiki walked to Naruto's desk, looked at the paper. Every answer was correct. Not just correct. Each response demonstrated understanding that went beyond genin level, beyond chunin level. The answer to question 7, a complex tactical scenario involving troop deployment across 3 fronts, was answered with a solution that Ibiki himself hadn't considered, and he'd written the question. Ibiki stared at the sleeping boy. The boy drooled slightly. Ibiki returned to the front of the room with the uncomfortable feeling that he'd just witnessed something he wasn't qualified to assess. The 10th question came. Ibiki's ultimatum. Take it and risk permanent failure, or quit now. The psychological test. Teams dropped out. Naruto slept through the entire speech. Sakura elbowed him awake for the final decision. "We're staying," Naruto said, without opening his eyes. Then he went back to sleep. They passed. The second exam. The Forest of Death. Anko Mitarashi, the proctor, was cheerfully terrifying. 44 gates around a fenced forest filled with oversized predators, booby traps, and 70-something teams of bloodthirsty genin. Each team got a scroll, heaven or earth, and had 5 days to collect both and reach the central tower. "Don't die!" Anko said brightly. Team 7 entered through gate 12. The forest was thick, dark, and alive with hostile chakra signatures. Sasuke was on high alert. Sakura was nervous but focused. Naruto walked with his hands in his pockets. They got their second scroll within the first hour. A team from the Rain Village tried an ambush. Sasuke handled 2 of them with taijutsu and a perfectly placed fireball. The third lunged at Naruto from behind with a kunai. The kunai stopped 1 inch from Naruto's neck, hung in the air. Naruto turned around slowly, looked at the Rain Genin, and said, "Bro?" The Genin released the kunai and ran. The kunai stayed floating for another 3 seconds, then dropped. "Was that you?" Sasuke asked. "Nope," Naruto said. "The kunai just stopped on its own. Weird, right?" Sasuke stared at him. Naruto stared back. Neither of them blinked. Then Naruto said, "Got the scroll. Let's move." They moved. It was on the second day that everything changed. The killing intent hit first. Not the everyday kind that Genin leaked during sparring. This was different. This was malice with mass. It pressed against the forest like a physical object, dropping birds from the sky and sending small animals fleeing in silent, coordinated waves. Trees seemed to lean away from its source. Sasuke froze. His newly awakened Sharingan spun wildly, trying to track a thread it couldn't see. Sakura grabbed a tree trunk, her knees buckling. Even the air felt sick, thick and wrong, like breathing through oil. Naruto felt it too. He felt everything. But where the killing intent was supposed to induce fear, it hit Naruto's mindscape and was processed through 3 perspectives simultaneously. Bellicus. Something powerful is here. Finally. Something evil is here. The children are in danger. Naruto, both of you are right. That's Orochimaru. He knew. The same way he knew every answer on Ibiki's test. Because when you carried the consciousness of a celestial sapient, information wasn't something you lacked. It was something you drowned in. He knew who was in the forest. He knew why. He knew about the cursed mark that Orochimaru planned to place on Sasuke. He knew about the invasion being planned behind the scenes. He knew everything. The question was always the same. What to do about it? Orochimaru arrived like a story being told. First, the snakes, massive, summoned, bursting from the ground with hissing mouths and crushing coils. A serpent the size of a train barreled toward Team 7 through the trees, shattering trunks like toothpicks. Sasuke grabbed Sakura and leaped. Kakashi wasn't here. This was a Genin exam. They were alone. The snake's mouth opened, fangs the size of a man, poison dripping, the throat behind them a black tunnel to oblivion. In Naruto's mindscape, the vote was instantaneous. No debate, no discussion. Bellicus and Naruto agreed before Serena finished forming her opinion, and Serena nodded along half a second later. Unanimous, instant, final. Black hole. Naruto raised his right hand, palm open, fingers slightly curled. A point appeared inside the snake's open mouth. Not a ball, not an orb. A point, dimensionless, infinite, darker than the space between stars. It existed for exactly 1 second. The snake imploded. Not dramatically, not with fire or light or a spectacular collapse. Efficiently, silently. Every molecule of the massive summon was drawn inward, compressed, folded, and packed into a singularity the size of a marble that hung in the air where the snake's head had been. The marble pulsed once, faintly like a heartbeat, and then vanished with a soft pop. The forest went quiet. Then Orochimaru stepped out from behind a tree. His long hair framed a face that held a permanent serpentine smile. His yellow eyes surveyed the scene. The missing snake, the 3 Genin, the impossible absence where a building-sized summon should have been. The smile faltered. Not much. Just at the edges. The kind of micro-expression that only a lifetime of deception could produce and only a lifetime of observation could catch. Orochimaru had lived through wars. He had studied under the 3rd Hokage. He had dissected, experimented on, and analyzed more jutsu and more shinobi than anyone alive. His database of power was encyclopedic. He had no entry for what he'd just seen. Interesting, Orochimaru said. His voice was silk over gravel. The Jinchuriki of the 9 Tails. I was here for the Uchiha, but perhaps... You're not getting Sasuke, Naruto said. He was standing in front of his teammates, not in a combat stance, just standing, hands at his sides, eyes forward. The blue was fading from his irises, replaced by something deeper, something that swirled. Orochimaru's tongue flicked across his lips. He extended his neck, literally grotesquely, his neck stretching like rubber, and his killing intent quadrupled. The air turned to pressure. Sasuke dropped to one knee. Sakura collapsed entirely, consciousness swimming. The trees around them bowed. Naruto didn't blink. "You're not human," Orochimaru whispered. The realization was forming behind his yellow eyes. Not shock, curiosity, the most dangerous kind. "What are you, boy?" The stars were in Naruto's skin now, creeping up from his hands, spreading across his arms, black as void, dotted with white pinpricks of light. The three horn-like protrusions were forming on his forehead. His voice, when it came, carried the triple echo. "I am the decision-maker." Orochimaru attacked. Because Orochimaru was many things, a genius, a monster, a survivor, but he was also a scientist, and scientists could not resist poking the unknown. Striking shadow snakes. Dozens of serpents erupted from his sleeves, each one venomous, each one fast enough to catch a Junin. They converged on Naruto from every angle. They turned to flowers. Mid-flight, fangs became petals, scales became stems. The snakes hit Naruto as a bouquet of wildflowers that scattered harmlessly across his shoulders. Orochimaru's eyes went wide. Genuinely wide. We need to end this, permanently. Before he marks Sasuke. Bellicus, erase him. Delete his existence. Wipe him from the timeline. I've been wanting to do this since we heard about his experiments on children. Serena, don't kill him, but make him harmless. Completely, permanently harmless. Naruto, I have an idea. Temporal reversal, partial. We revert his body way back, before the experiments, before the power, before any of it. Bellicus, how far back? Naruto, all the way. Bellicus laughed. In the void, it sounded like tectonic plates clapping. Motion carried. Motion carried. Naruto extended one finger toward Orochimaru. The Sannin saw it coming, felt something, some instinct, some fragment of his vast intelligence screaming at him to move, to escape, to do anything. And he launched himself backward, substitution after substitution, shedding his skin, activating every defensive technique in his arsenal. It didn't matter. Distance didn't matter. Defense didn't matter. Naruto's finger pointed at Orochimaru across the forest, and reality agreed. Temporal reversal, partial. Time moved backward on Orochimaru's body, only his body. The trees around him stayed the same, the air stayed the same, but Orochimaru, his cells, his age, his accumulated power, his muscle memory, his chakra network, began rewinding fast. The pale skin smoothed, the yellow eyes softened, the long hair shortened, the snake-like features rounded out. Orochimaru shrank. His robes pooled around him, his hands became small. His voice, mid-scream, pitched upward. In 4 seconds, the most dangerous missing 9 in the 5 great nations was gone. In his place, sitting in a pile of oversized robes on the forest floor, was a baby. A small, confused, mildly irritated baby with dark hair and normal eyes, blinking up at the forest canopy with the profound bewilderment of someone who had just been a 50-year-old war criminal and was now an infant. The baby sneezed. Silence. Sasuke, still on one knee, looked at the baby, looked at Naruto, looked at the baby. His Sharingan was spinning so fast it was audible. His brain was doing calculations that returned only error messages. Was that real? Sasuke asked. Naruto's transformation was already fading. Stars retreating, horns dissolving, skin returning to normal. He looked at Sasuke with plain blue eyes. Motion carried. Naruto said, "What? Nothing. Let's get the scroll." Sakura regained consciousness a minute later. She looked at the baby on the forest floor. "Whose baby is that?" "Nobody's," Naruto said. "Anymore." They left the baby wrapped in Orochimaru's robes near a marker that Anbu would find. Naruto had made sure of that. A small pulse of energy, undetectable by anyone except the specific Anbu team assigned to Forest of Death surveillance. The baby would be found, cared for, given a second chance. Serena's idea. Bellicus had wanted to leave it in the woods. The vote was 2-1. They reached the tower with 30 hours to spare. Fastest team in the exam's history. When they opened their scrolls and Iruka appeared in a puff of smoke to congratulate them, he noticed that Naruto looked exactly the same as when he'd entered the forest. Not a scratch, not a smudge, not a hair out of place. While Sasuke had minor injuries and Sakura had dirt on her face. Iruka asked how the exam went. Sasuke said, "Don't ask." Sakura said there was a baby. Naruto said, "Great, loved it, very educational." The preliminary fights happened in the tower's arena, a concrete box with a viewing balcony overseen by Hayate Gecko, who looked like he hadn't slept since the Second Shinobi War. The matchups were randomized. Fights were one-on-one. The other examinees sat in the balcony and watched. The matchups played out differently in this story. Some fights were the same. Shikamaru's tactical laziness still beat his opponent. Shino's bugs still did their quiet, horrifying work. But the ones that mattered for this story landed differently. Sasuke fought a sound Genin and won with his awakened Sharingan in a brutally efficient combination of taijutsu and fire release. No curse mark, no Orochimaru corruption, just raw Uchiha talent and the burning determination of a boy who just watched his teammate casually reverse a Sanin's entire existence and was processing that through the lens of, I need to get stronger. Sakura fought Ino. This fight at least was familiar. Two rivals, one friendship broken over a boy, a battle that was more emotional than physical. Sakura won, barely, through willpower more than technique. Naruto clapped from the balcony. Bellicus called it the most boring 60 seconds of our existence. Serena shushed him, and then the board randomized the next match. Naruto Uzumaki versus Nejuga. The arena got quiet. Not because anyone knew what Naruto could do. Most of the assembled Genin and Junin had no idea, but because Neji Hyuga was a known quantity. The prodigy of the Hyuga clan. The genius of the branch house. Undefeated in the academy, undefeated in the exams, carrying the Byakugan and the gentle fist with the kind of cold precision that made experienced shinobi uncomfortable, Neji descended to the arena floor with the composed grace of someone who had already decided the outcome. His white eyes were calm. His stance was perfect. Naruto walked down the stairs with his hands in his pockets. You should forfeit, Neji said. His voice carried across the arena, clear, certain, practiced. You cannot change what fate has decided. A failure will always be a failure. Naruto stopped at the center of the arena. He looked at Neji, not with anger, not with determination, with something closer to recognition. Like he could see the cage Neji was carrying and understood exactly how heavy it was. Fate, huh? Naruto said. The curse of the branch house, Neji said, and there was real pain under the ice, proves that destiny cannot be changed. Some are born to suffer. Some are born to rule. It is absolute. Hayate raised his hand. Begin. Neji attacked. He was genuinely impressive. Give him that. The gentle fist was beautiful in its lethality. Every strike precise, every movement efficient, every step calculated to close the distance and target the tenketsu points that controlled Naruto's chakra flow. Neji's Byakugan was active, the veins around his eyes bulging, mapping Naruto's chakra network in real time. He struck. Palm to shoulder. 8 trigrams, 2 palms. 2 strikes to Naruto's chakra points, each one landing with precision that bordered on surgical. The crowd murmured. Kakashi, watching from the balcony, narrowed his eye. Neji struck again. 4 palms. Then 8 palms. Then 16 palms. Then accelerating, his arms blurring, 8 trigrams, 32 palms. Each strike landed. Each one hit a tenketsu point exactly where the Byakugan said it would be. Neji's hands moved in the precise, devastating pattern that the Hyuga had perfected over generations. It was a masterpiece of taijutsu. It was lethal, efficient, and real. The crowd gasped. The commentators called it. Hiyashi Hyuga, watching from the stands with his daughter Hinata beside him, was unreadable. Guy was leaning forward. Kakashi had covered his Sharingan eye with his hand. Neji stepped back, breathing hard but controlled. 32 chakra points closed. Any normal shinobi would be on the ground. Any normal Genin would be unconscious. Naruto was standing exactly where he'd been standing before. Same posture, same expression, hands still in his pockets. Something was wrong. Neji felt it immediately. His Byakugan was still active, still mapping Naruto's network, and what it showed him did not make sense. The tenketsu he'd closed, all 32 of them, were open. Wide open. Wider than they'd been before. The chakra flowing through them wasn't just restored, it was amplified, torrential, like he hadn't closed gates in a dam. He'd broken the dam entirely, because inside Naruto's mindscape, the vote had happened the moment Neji's first palm landed. That insect struck us. End him. End his entire bloodline. End the concept of the gentle fist and replace it with heal the points immediately, widen them. Let him see what's inside. Let the strikes land. Let him think he's winning. Then show him something. Vote. Let the tenketsu open fully. Let the chakra flow at its real capacity. Show Neji what lies beyond his cage. Only if we make it dramatic. Deal. Motion carried. The chakra that poured out of Naruto was visible, not the faint heat shimmer glow that strong shinobi sometimes produced. This was a golden pressure, dense, warm, and heavy enough to make the arena floor crack in spiderweb patterns beneath his feet. The air itself vibrated. The walls groaned. In the stands, Genin grabbed their seats. Jonin stood up. Hiyashi's Byakugan activated involuntarily, and what he saw made his blood stop. The chakra network inside Naruto's body was not a network. It was a universe. Every channel, every pathway, every point connected to something vast and deep and infinite. A well of energy that had no bottom, no walls, no end. Hiyashi was looking at a 12-year-old whose internal chakra capacity was, as far as his eyes could tell, literally immeasurable. Neji stumbled back. His Byakugan was showing him the same thing, and his face, so composed, so certain, so practiced, cracked. The calm was gone. In its place was something raw and young and scared. What? Naruto moved for the first time. He reached out and grabbed Neji's wrist, gently. Not a combat grip, a doctor's grip, a teacher's grip. Universal vision. He pressed 2 fingers to Neji's forehead, and Neji saw. The world fell away. The arena, the crowd, the Konoha, the land of fire, the continent, all of it dissolved like sand in a tide. Neji was somewhere else, everywhere else. He was standing in the cosmos, actually standing in it, surrounded by galaxies that dwarfed his comprehension. Stars being born in clouds of light that stretched across distances his mind could not process. Civilizations rising and falling on worlds too numerous to count. He saw his own life, his family, his father's death, the curse mark on his forehead, the cage he'd lived in since birth. And from the scale of what surrounded it, from the perspective of galaxies and eons and civilizations that made the Hyuga compound look like a single grain of sand on an infinite beach, the cage was nothing, not meaningless, just small, finite, a construct, a decision made by people who were, themselves, small and finite and temporary. The curse mark was not fate, it was a seal, and seals could be broken. The vision lasted 3 seconds in real time. For Neji it lasted a lifetime. He collapsed to his knees, not from injury, not from defeat, from understanding. Tears were on his face, the first tears in years, maybe ever, and he didn't try to hide them because what he'd just seen made pride irrelevant. Naruto released him, stood back. His voice was his own. No echo, no cosmic amplification, just a 12-year-old talking to another 12-year-old. Fate is a really small prison, Neji. Tear the walls down. The arena was absolutely silent. The judges didn't know what to call. The crowd didn't know what they'd seen. Hiyashi was on his feet, his composure broken for the first time anyone could remember. Guy had tears streaming down his face, because of course he did, he was Guy. Kakashi had his hand over his Sharingan because the eye was telling him something had just moved through the arena that existed on a level he was not cleared to perceive. Hayate coughed. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. Match time, 90 seconds. Neji stayed on his knees for a long time. When he finally stood, he looked at Naruto, not with anger or rivalry or the cold calculation that had defined him for years. He looked at him with something quiet and open and new. Thank you, Neji said. Naruto grinned. A big, dumb, 12-year-old grin. Sure, man. He walked back up to the balcony. Sasuke was staring at him with an expression that could curdle milk. Sakura was staring with her mouth open. Shikamaru said troublesome. Lee was physically vibrating. Kakashi was reading his book and pretending very hard that everything was normal. Inside Naruto's head, Bellicus, that was too gentle. That was perfect. That was exactly what he needed. Fine. It was okay. He said it was okay. Don't push it. The finals were scheduled for 1 month out. Training period. Everyone preparing. The village buzzing with anticipation and tournament fever, and the specific energy that comes from hundreds of shinobi gathering in one place with something to prove. But underneath the excitement, something was moving. Naruto felt it, had felt it since the Forest of Death. The invasion plan, sand and sound, working together. Orchestrated by Orochimaru, except Orochimaru was currently a baby being cared for by confused Anbu medics, which meant the plan was running on autopilot. The Sans Jinchuriki, Gaara, was still the linchpin. The Sound Four were still in play. The attack was still coming. Naruto mentioned this to Minato 3 days before the finals. They were eating dinner. Kushina had made her special miso ramen, the one with the extra pork. There's going to be an invasion during the finals, Naruto said between bites. Minato's chopsticks stopped. Kushina's chopsticks stopped. How do you know that? Minato asked. Naruto chewed, swallowed. I know everything, Dad. We've talked about this. You know everything. It's a committee thing. Minato looked at Kushina. Kushina looked at Minato. They had been having these moments, these silent married couple communications about their impossible son for 12 years. Tell me the details, Minato said. Naruto told him. Sand and sound. A genjutsu over the arena. The third Hokage targeted by whoever was leading the invasion in Orochimaru's absence. Gaara as a weapon. The timeline. The entry points. Minato mobilized Konoha's forces quietly. Additional Anbu. Barrier teams. Evacuation protocols. He did not tell the full council. He told Kakashi, Shikaku, Nara, and the third Hokage the minimum needed to prepare without tipping off spies. How do you want to handle this? Minato asked his son. Naruto looked up from his ramen. Let it start. Let people see the threat. Then I'll end it. You'll end it. We've already voted. 3-0. Bellicus is really excited. Minato picked up his ramen again. He ate it mechanically, the way a man eats when his brain is elsewhere. Kushina reached over and patted his hand. It'll be fine, she said. Our 12-year-old is going to personally handle an international military invasion. Yes, past the soy sauce? The day of the finals. The arena was packed. Kaji from multiple nations in the box seats. Junin lining the walls. Thousands of spectators. The air was electric with excitement, tension, and the hidden presence of several hundred enemy shinobi concealed among the civilians and positioned around the village's perimeter. The tournament began. Fights happened. They were impressive, loud, crowd-pleasing. Genin from every village throwing on everything they had at each other while the crowd roared. And then the genjutsu hit. White feathers drifted down from the sky. The civilians slumped. The weaker shinobi wavered. The invasion began. Explosions along the outer wall. The eastern and northern gates breached simultaneously. Sound shinobi pouring through the gaps. Sand shinobi dropping their disguises in the stands. The barrier team around the Kaji box activated. A purple wall of chakra, isolating the box from the rest of the arena. Inside the barrier, a figure confronted the third Hokage. Not Orochimaru. He was gone. His lieutenant. A loyal, desperate substitute who had activated the plan on schedule even without the master, because the machinery was already in motion and stopping it was never an option. The village erupted. Fires, screams, the clash of metal on metal. Anbu engaged. Junin mobilized. The civilians who hadn't been knocked out by the genjutsu were being evacuated through underground tunnels that Minato had prepared 3 days earlier because his son had told him the exact timing over dinner. Naruto stood in the center of the arena. Around him, the world was falling apart. Genin scrambled for cover. Enemy shinobi dropped from the walls. A massive snake summoned, 3 of them, crashed through the outer wall, their bodies carving through buildings. Inside Naruto's head, the vote was already unanimous. Bellicus, finally, a real scenario. Let me do this one. Serena, save them, save everyone. I don't care how. Naruto, selective, targeted, only the invaders, civilians untouched, our forces untouched. That's boring. That's the vote. Fine. Motion carried. Naruto raised both hands. Selective gravity erasure. Every sand and sound ninja inside Konoha's walls lost gravity. Just them. Specifically them. Individually, precisely, without exception. 643 enemy combatants engaged in battle, scaling walls, firing jutsu, drawing swords, suddenly had no weight. They floated upward, gently, steadily, like balloons released from children's hands at a festival. The defenders stopped fighting. They had no one to fight. Their opponents were rising into the sky, limbs flailing, weapons spinning uselessly beside them, voices carrying down in confused, furious, increasingly distant shouts. Kakashi looked up. He'd been mid-combat with 3 sound Junin, his Sharingan spinning, his hand crackling with a half-formed Chidori. Now his opponents were 20 feet above him and climbing. One of them was still trying to throw kunai downward, but without gravity, every throw sent the ninja spinning in the opposite direction. Is this Naruto? Kakashi asked. Might Guy appeared beside him. A sound Junin floated past his head. Guy watched it go with wide, shining eyes. The power of youth! Kakashi, that's definitely not what this is. It's magnificent regardless. Across the village, the same scene played out on every street, every rooftop, every battleground. Konoha's defenders looked up as their enemies rose harmlessly into the sky. Asuma paused mid-combat and lit a cigarette. Kurenai dropped her genjutsu because there was no one left to cast it on. Anko watched a sound shonen float past her with a sandwich still in his hand. The 3 snake summons, massive, building size still pushing through the wall, lost gravity too. They rose. Slowly, absurdly, 3 enormous snakes floating skyward, their tails dangling, their hissing fading with distance. From below, they looked like parade balloons. Very angry, very confused parade balloons. Minato was on the Hokage monument, directing the defense. He watched the enemy army float into the sky. All of them. Every single one. Rising in a gentle, peaceful, completely humiliating ascension. He put his hand over his face, laughed once, then got back to work, because even when your son was a god, there was still paperwork. The barrier around the Kaji box fell when the caster floated out of range. The 3rd Hokage, who had been prepared to give his life to stop the invasion, stood in the box with his battle staff in hand and no enemy to fight. He looked at the sky. He looked at the arena. He looked at Naruto standing in the center, arms still raised, eyes burning with galaxies. "Hiruzen," Minato said through the communication seal, "stand down. It's handled." "So I see." But the invasion wasn't over. Not entirely. Because in the chaos, something had broken free. Gaara the sand armor cracked. The transformation began. Shukaku's influence, the one tail, the Tanuki demon sealed inside a boy who had never known peace, pushed through the weakened seal. Gaara's body distorted. The sand formed a massive arm, then another. His face was half covered, one yellow eye glowing. Shukaku's grin spreading across features that had been human seconds ago. He dropped into the arena from the Kaji box. The impact cratered the ground. The partial transformation was growing, a monster of sand and rage, fed by a lifetime of loneliness and the specific kind of madness that comes from hearing a demon whisper in your ear every second of every day since birth. Gaara screamed. It wasn't a battle cry. It was the sound of a boy drowning. The sand expanded. A tail formed. The arena wall shattered outward. Spectators who hadn't been evacuated scrambled. Junin moved in, Guy Kakashi Asuma, but the sand was everywhere, defensive and offensive simultaneously. Shukaku's chakra was wild, corrosive, wrong. In Naruto's mindscape, the vote was the most unified it had been all day, bellicose. Compress the beast. Serena, free the child inside the beast. Naruto, both. Motion carried. Naruto raised one hand toward the growing sand monster. His voice carried that triple echo, calm underneath, furious above, and balanced at the center. Existence separation. The effect was immediate and total. 2 things that were tangled became untangled. Shukaku's consciousness, the demon, the tanuki, the sentient sand, was separated from Gaara's. Not violently. Not with sealing arrays or combat or any technique that required physical contact. The separation happened on a fundamental level. 2 existences that had been stitched together against their will were unstitched. Cleanly. Completely, the sand fell. All of it. A tidal wave of grain that had been alive and hostile a second ago became just sand. Inert, harmless, cascading off Gaara's body like water. The monstrous form collapsed. The tail dissolved. The arm crumbled. Shukaku's consciousness, freed, confused, furious, was contained. Naruto created a bubble of compressed reality around it, a pocket dimension the size of a marble that held the One Tail's entire being in stasis. The marble floated gently into Naruto's palm. He looked at it. A biju, trapped in a glass ball the size of a gumball. We'll figure out what to do with you later. Naruto said to the marble, destroy it. Give it a nice dimension to live in. Later. He pocketed it. Gaara was on the ground. The sand armor was gone. The monstrous features were gone. He was just a boy, pale, thin, dark circles under his eyes from years of insomnia, unconscious, breathing free. For the first time in his life, the voice in his head was gone. The sand was just sand. The demon was gone. There was nothing in Gaara's mind but silence. And after 15 years of Shukaku's constant maddening whisper, silence was the most beautiful sound in the world. The invasion was over. The village was damaged but standing. The casualties were minimal. Minato's advanced preparation, combined with Naruto's universal gravity revocation, had turned a devastating surprise attack into something closer to an inconvenience. The floating enemy ninja were eventually collected by Anbu using large nets and some very creative use of wind jutsu. Most of them were too disoriented and nauseated to resist. Gaara woke up in a hospital bed. White sheets. sunlight through a window, the sound of birds, which he could actually hear now that Shikaku wasn't screaming over them. Naruto was sitting in a chair beside the bed, eating an apple. Gaara stared at him. "Where is the voice?" "Gone," Naruto said. "The tanuki is in a marble in my pocket. He's fine. Angry, but fine." Gaara's hand went to his chest. His eyes were wide, not with fear, but with a kind of stunned disbelief. He could feel his own heartbeat. Just his heartbeat, nothing else. "Why?" Gaara asked. "Why would you? I was trying to kill." "You're not the monster," Naruto said. He took another bite of apple, chewed. "The monster was the one who told you that you were." Gaara stared at him for a long time. Then his eyes filled with tears, and he didn't try to stop them, because for the first time, the emotions in his body were his alone. Naruto handed him a tissue. "The crying is normal. Serena says it's healthy." "Who's Serena?" Long story. The aftermath of the invasion reshaped Konoha's political landscape. The Sand Village, its Jinchuriki neutralized and its military force humiliated, opened immediate negotiations for peace. The Sound Village, without Orochimaru to lead it, fractured. The invasion that was supposed to topple the leaf became the event that cemented its dominance. Minato handled the diplomacy. The third Hokage, alive and unharmed thanks to the barrier collapsing early, served as an advisor. The village rebuilt. Naruto went back to eating ramen and arguing with the voices in his head, but something had shifted. The ninja world knew something had happened in Konoha during the Chunin exams. The reports were contradictory and insane. An entire invading army levitated into the sky. A tailed beast separated from its host with zero visible effort. A genin with star-patterned skin and galaxy eyes. Most villages dismissed it as propaganda. Some didn't. Naruto didn't care about the attention. He cared about the fact that Sasuke was getting quieter. It had been building since the Forest of Death. Since Naruto turned Orochimaru into a baby in 4 seconds. Since the Chunin exams. Since the invasion. Every impossible thing Naruto did was another brick in the wall. Sasuke was building between himself and everything else, because Sasuke Uchiha had spent his entire life chasing power. After the Itachi massacre, still the defining trauma, still the open wound, Sasuke had decided that strength was the only thing that mattered. Get strong enough, kill Itachi, avenge the clan. A clean, brutal equation. And then Naruto happened, and the equation broke. How do you chase power when your teammate is omnipotent? How do you measure your progress when the person next to you can rewrite reality with a hand gesture? How do you maintain the fire of vengeance when the goalpost hasn't moved? It's been removed from the field entirely? Sasuke's answer, the only answer his broken heart could produce, was the same one it had always been. I need more power. But now more didn't mean training harder or unlocking the next Sharingan level. More meant something drastic, something wrong. The Sound Four came in the night. Without Orochimaru, they were desperate, leaderless, purposeless, clinging to the last mission they'd been given. Recruit the Uchiha. They found Sasuke on the dock, staring at the water, and they offered him the same thing they would have in any timeline. Power, purpose, and a path away from the village that made him feel small. Sasuke left. Naruto knew the moment it happened, not because of alarm seals or tracking jutsu, because Serena felt it, a warmth leaving the village like a candle being snuffed. She made a sound in the mindscape that was not quite a word and not quite a cry. He's gone, she said. Bellicus was immediate. Betrayal. The Uchiha has defected. Erase him. Erase the sound trash who took him. Erase the path between here and there. Serena. He's in pain. He's not thinking clearly. We have to save him. Naruto, we will. He didn't wait for a retrieval team. He didn't need one. The official mission was being organized. Shikamaru, Choji, Neji, Kiba, Lee. But by the time they assembled, Naruto was already gone. He told his parents. Stood in the doorway of their bedroom, silhouette against the hallway light. Kushina was already awake. Maternal instinct or ninja reflexes, either one. Sasuke left the village, Naruto said. Kushina sat up. Minato was awake a half-second later. I'm going to bring him back, Naruto said. Take a team. Minato started. I don't need a team, Dad. Silence. Minato looked at his son in the doorway. 12 years old, blonde hair messy from bed, orange pajamas, had infinite cosmic power burning quietly behind tired blue eyes. Be careful, Minato said. It was the wrong thing to say to someone who could unmake the universe, but it was the right thing to say to his son. "I'll be home for breakfast," Naruto said. He stepped out the front door. The night air was cool. Stars above, real stars, the normal kind, dim and distant, not like his stars. Spatial step. One step. He was at the Valley of the End. The statues of Madara Uchiha and Hashirama Senju loomed on either side of the waterfall, enormous stone figures frozen in eternal confrontation. The water roared between them, crashing down into the river below. The moon was full. The mist from the falls caught the light and scattered it like tiny diamonds. Naruto stood on the surface of the river between the statues, waiting, still, patient. The stars in his eyes were visible even in the moonlight, faint, but there, swirling slowly behind the blue. Sasuke arrived 20 minutes later, alone. The Sound Four were gone. Naruto had dealt with them on his way here. Nothing lethal, just a selective consciousness suspension. All four of them were asleep in the woods, dreaming peacefully, and would wake up in 8 hours with headaches and a revised understanding of their life choices. Sasuke landed on the water across from Naruto. The curse mark was active, black flame patterns spreading across the left side of his face, his chakra spiking wildly. His Sharingan was blazing. His expression was desperate and furious and broken in ways that had nothing to do with the present moment, and everything to do with a night years ago when his brother left him alive and told him to hate. They looked at each other across the water. The statues watched. Naruto. Sasuke's voice was rough. "Get out of my way." "No, I'm not going back." "Yeah, you are." Sasuke's fists clenched. The curse mark pulsed. Dark chakra leaked from his skin like smoke. "You don't understand. You've never understood. You have everything. Power, family, strength. You were handed everything. I have nothing. Itachi took everything. And the only way to get it back, the only way to get strong enough to face him, is to leave." Naruto listened. Really listened. In the mindscape, Bellicus was quiet. Serena was quiet. They were all listening because underneath the rage and the curse mark and the madness, there was a boy who missed his family and didn't know how to say it. "You think I was handed everything?" Naruto said. His voice was quiet, real, no echo. "Sasuke, I can't scratch my head without 3 voices debating it. I can't eat breakfast without a committee vote. I spent my entire childhood standing still while the world moved around me, because the 2 most stubborn beings in any universe couldn't agree on whether I should pick up a pencil or level a mountain. That's not having everything. That's being a prisoner in my own body with power I can barely use." The waterfall roared. The mist swirled. "But I have my mom and dad," Naruto continued. "And yeah, I know you don't have yours, and I know that's the part that makes you want to burn the world down. But leaving Konoha doesn't fix that, Sasuke. Orochimaru doesn't fix that. Power doesn't fix that." "Shut up!" Sasuke charged. The Sharingan blazed. "Chidori!" Lightning crackled to life in his palm, blue-white screaming the assassination technique that Kakashi had taught him. He drove it forward with every ounce of speed and rage and grief he had. The Chidori hit Naruto in the chest. It hit. Full contact. Lightning chakra against orange fabric against skin. The impact should have pierced through. The technique was designed to kill. Naruto didn't move. The Chidori crackled against his chest like a sparkler against a mountainside. There was light and noise and fury, and underneath all of it, absolutely nothing happening. Sasuke screamed and pushed harder. The curse mark spread. Stage 2, the full transformation. His skin darkened. Wing-like protrusions erupted from his shoulders. His chakra doubled, tripled, became something twisted and desperate. The Chidori intensified. Black lightning mixed with white. Naruto stood still. Not because he was being dramatic, not because he was showing off. He stood still because the vote was happening. Bellicus. "The Uchiha is attacking us with killing intent. I vote to erase his entire genetic lineage from the space-time continuum." Serena was crying, not metaphorically. In the mindscape, the light that composed her form was flickering, dimming, pulsing with grief. "He's in pain. He's so much pain. We have to save him. We have to." Naruto stood between them. The Chidori was still in his chest. In the physical world, Sasuke was screaming, driving the technique deeper, tears cutting through the curse mark patterns on his face. The river churned, the statues cracked, the sky flickered. "I'm not going to erase him," Naruto said. "He is. I'm not going to let him go either." Serena looked at him. Bellicus looked at him. "Vote," Naruto said. I want to remove the curse mark, clean it, take away Orochimaru's poison, let him feel what his own chakra feels like without the corruption, and then bring him home. Yes, yes, absolutely yes. Bellicus, he attacked us. He should face, he's my friend, Bellicus. The void was quiet. Bellicus, the voice of rage and aggression, who had existed since before time had a name, who had argued for destruction in every debate for eons beyond counting, was quiet. Fine, Bellicus said. Motion carried. In the physical world, Naruto reached down and grabbed Sasuke's wrist. The Chidori died, not blocked, not countered. Off like pulling a plug from a socket. The lightning vanished without even a residual crackle. Sasuke stared at his hand, then at Naruto. Reality overwrite. The curse mark broke. The black flame patterns on Sasuke's skin peeled away. Literally peeled, like dead leaves in autumn, lifting from his flesh and dissolving into the air. The wings crumbled. Not dramatically, they just became paper. Thin, delicate paper the wind caught and scattered across the waterfall. The dark chakra that had been pumping through his coils, Orochimaru's poison, the corruption, the false strength, transformed, turned to warmth. Became, for a single impossible moment, the feeling of a mother's hand on a child's forehead. Sasuke gasped. His knees buckled. The Sharingan deactivated. His eyes, just Sasuke's regular dark eyes, were wide and lost and young. What did you? Naruto knelt in front of him. The water lapped at their knees. The moon was overhead. The statues watched. I'm not going to let you go, Sasuke. Naruto's voice was just his. No echo, no cosmic weight. Just a 12-year-old talking to another 12-year-old on a river in the middle of the night. Not because I'm stronger, because you matter. And the voice that wants to keep you safe matters too. He glanced upward, at nothing, at the sky, at Serena's presence somewhere above them both. Even when she's annoying about it. Sasuke's mouth opened, closed, opened. His throat worked, his eyes shone. I hate you, Sasuke whispered. I know. I hate that you can do everything. I know. I hate that I can't. I know. Naruto put his hand on Sasuke's shoulder, but you don't need to do everything. You just need to do the next thing. And the next thing is coming home. Sasuke didn't agree. He didn't nod. He didn't make a speech about bonds or friendship or the will of fire. He just stopped resisting. His body went slack, his eyes closed, and the exhaustion of years of rage and grief and lonely, poisonous ambition hit him all at once. He slept. Right there, on the water, with Naruto's hand on his shoulder. Spatial return. Sasuke vanished from the Valley of the End and reappeared, sleeping in his own bed in his Konoha apartment. Blanket tucked, shoes removed, curse mark gone. The room was exactly as he'd left it, except that someone had turned the light on and placed a glass of water on the nightstand. Serena's touch. The retrieval arc, the hospital fights, the weeks of recovery and recrimination and political fallout. Bypassed. All of it. Space and time were suggestions, and Naruto Uzumaki was done suggesting. In the morning, Sasuke would wake up in his own bed with no curse mark, no sound for, no betrayal on his record, and a confused sense that something fundamental had shifted inside him. He wouldn't understand it right away. That was fine. Understanding wasn't the goal. Survival was. Naruto stood alone at the Valley of the End. The river was calm now. The statues were repaired. He'd fixed them while he waited during the fight between votes. Bellicus had insisted. Something about respecting the arena. The moon hung overhead. The Naruto looked at the stars. The real ones, the normal ones, the ones that didn't live behind his eyes. They were dimmer than his. Smaller. Finite. But they were beautiful in their smallness, and he loved them the way a giant loves the world it's too big for. He spoke out loud to himself, to both of them. I'm tired of arguing. Let's go home. Inside his mindscape, the void was still. Bellicus stood in his corner, radiating the usual red-black fury, but subdued, like embers instead of a bonfire. Serena floated in her corner, glowing softly, her light steady and warm. Home, Bellicus said, as if tasting the word. Home. Serena agreed. Naruto took one step. He was back in Konoha. The village was asleep. The streets were empty, except for a cat crossing an intersection and one very confused Anbu agent on patrol, who could have sworn the Hokage's son hadn't been there a second ago. Naruto walked home. His sandals made soft sounds on the cobblestones. The windows of the houses he passed were dark and warm and full of sleeping people who had no idea that a cosmic entity had just walked past their front door in an orange jumpsuit. He reached his house, opened the front door. The hallway light was on. Kushina had left it on for him, the way she always did. The kitchen table was set. Minato was sitting at it. Kushina was sitting across from him. Between them, 2 bowls of ramen, still warm somehow, as if Kushina had timed it perfectly. They looked up when Naruto walked in. "Where were you?" Kushina asked. "Valley of the End." Naruto sat down. Picked up his chopsticks, Minato set his own bowl down slowly. "Why?" "Sasuke drama." Long pause. The clock on the wall ticked. Outside, the cat from the intersection meowed at something. Kushina's eyes were doing the thing they did, the fierce, loving, and slightly terrified thing that happened whenever Naruto said something that implied he'd been doing God stuff. "Did you?" "He's fine. He's in his bed. I fixed it." Another pause. Minato picked his bowl back up. He didn't ask more. Kushina looked at Naruto for a long time, then reached over and ruffled his hair. "Eat your ramen before it gets cold," she said. Naruto ate. Minato ate. Kushina ate. A family of 3 at a kitchen table, sharing a meal. Not talking about the fact that one of them had just single-handedly resolved an S-rank crisis at a legendary battlefield in the span of 2 hours. "This ramen is really good, Mom." "Of course it is. I made it." "The pork is perfect." "Naruto, the pork is always perfect." "I'm just saying." "Eat." He ate. Inside his head, Bellicus muttered something about the pork being adequate. Serena sent a wave of warmth toward Kushina that manifested as a brief, inexplicable breeze through the kitchen. Kushina looked around, confused, then went back to eating, normal. Beautifully, stubbornly, impossibly normal. After dinner, Naruto helped with the dishes. Kushina washed, he dried. Minato put them away. The rhythm was practiced and easy, the muscle memory of 1,000 identical evenings. They didn't talk about cosmic powers. They didn't talk about invasions or retrievals or God-class abilities. They talked about whether the leftovers would keep until tomorrow, and whether Naruto had clean clothes for training, and whether Minato had remembered to file the paperwork for the Chunin exam finalization. At some point, Kushina flicked water at Naruto. He flicked water back. Minato got caught in the crossfire. A very small, very domestic water fight erupted in the kitchen of the Hokage's house, and for 5 minutes, the 3 of them were just a family laughing and getting the floor wet. Bellicus endured this in stoic silence. Serena was internally overjoyed. Naruto went to his room, brushed his teeth, changed into pajamas, a plain white shirt and shorts, boring, no stars. He lay on his back on his bed, arms behind his head, staring at the ceiling. The ceiling was just a ceiling. White paint slightly cracked in one corner where Kushina's cooking experiments had gotten too vigorous. A ceiling fan that squeaked on the 3rd rotation. A water stain shaped vaguely like a shuriken. Behind his eyes, the ceiling was different. Behind his eyes, where only he and 2 voices could see, the ceiling was the void. Infinite, starless at the edges, blazing with galaxies at the center. The mindscape, his second home. The space where every decision, every debate, every vote happened. Tonight, it was quiet. Bellicus stood in his section of the void. The red-black energy was low, banked, almost resting. He looked like a mountain after sunset. Still massive, still there, just dim. Serena floated in hers. The white gold light was steady and soft, like candlelight. Not blazing, not urgent, just present. Naruto stood between them. He was wearing his pajamas in the mindscape too, which Bellicus had once called an insult to omnipotence, and Naruto had called comfortable. The 3 of them existed in the silence. No vote pending, no crisis to address. No world to save or debate or accidentally terrify. Just 3 consciousness sharing a space that existed outside of time and physics and reason. Naruto looked at Bellicus. Bellicus looked back. Naruto looked at Serena. Serena looked back. He'd carried them his entire life, since before he could walk, since before he knew what they were. 2 ancient, cosmic beings, one made of fury, one made of love, living inside a kid who just wanted to eat ramen and be a ninja. They were his burden, his prison, his power, his family. "We did good today," Naruto said. The void absorbed his words the way voids do, completely, without echo, as if the silence was hungry for sound and grateful when it came. Bellicus was quiet for a long time. His energy shifted, reds darkening to something almost warm, blacks softening to something almost gentle. It was not an obvious change. If you weren't looking for it, you'd miss it entirely. But it was there. Yeah, Bellicus said. Serena's light pulsed once. Warmth without heat, light without glare. The cosmic equivalent of a smile. Yeah, Serena said. 3 voices. One moment. The rarest thing in the universe. Not power, not omnipotence, not the ability to bend reality or erase existence, or step across space like it was a crack in the sidewalk. Agreement. Simple, quiet, earned agreement. The kind that doesn't need a vote because it's already unanimous. The kind that lives in the space after the storm, in the breath after the scream, in the silence after the song. Naruto closed his eyes, both sets, the physical and the cosmic. The mindscape dimmed, the void settled. The stars behind his pupils slowed their ancient, endless spin. In his bed, in his room, in his house in Konoha, a 12-year-old boy fell asleep with a universe inside him and a world outside him, and for one night, peace between the two. The ceiling fan squeaked on the 3rd rotation. The village slept. The god in the headband slept with it. Morning came, the way mornings always do. Without asking permission, Sasuke Uchiha opened his eyes to a ceiling he recognized. His ceiling. His apartment. The water stain above his bed that he'd never bothered to fix, because fixing things required caring about where he lived, and Sasuke Uchiha did not care about where he lived. He cared about revenge, about power, about the red and black horizon of his brother's silhouette retreating into the distance of his worst memory. Except this morning, the caring felt different. He lay still for a long time. His body was fine. Not injured fine, not post-battle fine, actually fine. His muscles were loose. His chakra felt clean in a way he couldn't explain, like someone had flushed his entire network with warm water and dried it with sunlight. The left side of his neck, where the curse mark had been, where Orochimaru's poison had pulsed and whispered and promised power in exchange for everything that mattered. Nothing. Smooth skin, not even a scar. He sat up, looked around. His apartment was exactly as he'd left it. Weapons rack by the door, Uchiha crest on the wall, shoes by the entrance. Except there was a glass of water on his nightstand. Full, placed there by someone. He hadn't put it there. He didn't own that glass. It was clear, simple, and slightly warm to the touch in a way that glass shouldn't be, as if it had been carried here by something that radiated gentle heat as a matter of principle. Sasuke stared at the glass for a very long time. He remembered fragments, the sound 4, the gate, the forest path heading north, and then nothing. Just warmth, just the feeling of something heavy being lifted off his chest, like a hand peeling away a bandage that had been stuck to a wound for years. He picked up the glass, drank it, set it down. He did not say thank you to the empty room, but he thought it, which was more than Sasuke Uchiha had thought toward anyone in a very long time. He got dressed, he put on his sandals. He opened his front door to a Konoha morning that smelled like reconstruction dust and bakery bread, and the particular brand of optimism that villages produce when they've survived something they shouldn't have. He went to the training ground, because that's what Sasuke did. That's what Sasuke would always do. The curse mark was gone, but the drive wasn't. The hate was muddled and confused and shot through with something warm, but the need to be strong, that was still there. It was just pointed at something different now, something he couldn't name, and naming things had never been Sasuke's strength anyway. He trained alone. Fireball jutsu, shuriken patterns, the Sharingan spinning in his eyes, two tomoe now, sharp and hungry. He trained until his knuckles bled, and his chakra was low, and the sun was fully up, and the village around him was alive with people who had no idea that their youngest Uchiha had almost left them forever, and been brought back by something that defied every category they had for power. Across the village, in a kitchen that smelled like miso and rice, and Kushina Uzumaki's signature, "I know something happened last night and we're going to talk about it over food energy," Naruto was eating breakfast. He was eating it slowly, not because he was tired, though he was a little, the way you're tired after carrying something heavy a long distance even if the carrying was effortless. He was eating slowly because Bellicus had opinions about the egg. "It's overcooked," Bellicus said. "It's perfect," Serena said. "It's an egg," Naruto said. Both of you stop. Kushina was across the table watching him with the fierce, loving, terrified expression that had become her default setting around her son. Her red hair was tied back. Her eyes tracked every movement of his chopsticks, not because she was worried about his table manners, but because watching him do normal things, eating, breathing, existing in a chair like a regular person, was the thing that kept her grounded when the reality of what he was threatened to unhinge her entirely. Minato came in from the hallway. He was carrying a folder. The folder was thin, only a few pages, but he held it the way a man holds something explosive, with deliberate care and slightly extended arms. He sat down, poured tea, drank it, set the cup down with a precision that suggested he was delaying. "Good morning," Kushina said. "Morning. Naruto came home last night? I know. He went to the Valley of the End. I know. He fixed Sasuke." Minato looked at his son. Naruto was still eating the egg. "I know." A pause. Minato slid the folder across the table. It came to rest beside Naruto's rice bowl. The cover was stamped with a seal that Naruto recognized. S-rank intelligence. Junin Commander's office. Eyes only. "What's this?" Naruto asked. "Open it." Naruto opened it. The pages inside were dense with field reports, intercepted communications, and a map dotted with red markers across 3 continents. At the top, in Shikaku Nara's precise handwriting, "Akatsuki, confirmed movement," Naruto read. He didn't need to. Serena already knew every word on every page, and Bellicus didn't care about intelligence reports because Bellicus's approach to intelligence was destroy the source and the information becomes irrelevant. But Naruto read anyway, because his father had given him the folder, and reading it was the normal thing to do. The Akatsuki. 9 members. Well, fewer now, after what happened to Orochimaru. S-rank missing Nin, each one a nightmare in their own right. Their goal, the tailed beasts, all 9. Collect, extract, weaponize. The specific mechanism was unclear, but the pattern was not. They were moving, and they were moving fast. 2 Jinchuriki had already been targeted. The 2 tails host in the Cloud Village. The 5 tails host in the stone. Both survived, but barely. The Akatsuki wasn't playing anymore. The Akatsuki have made their first confirmed move, Minato said. He said it carefully, the way he said everything that involved his son and the gap between what a father should ask of a 12-year-old and what this particular 12-year-old could actually do. Naruto set the folder down. He took another bite of egg. "I know about them," Naruto said. "I've known for a while." Of course he had. Minato didn't even sigh. "They want the tailed beasts," Naruto continued. "Their leader thinks collecting all 9 will let him create a weapon powerful enough to enforce peace through fear. His name is Nagato. He operates through 6 bodies called the 6 Paths of Pain. He lost his best friend in the Second War and decided the entire concept of war needed to die, even if he had to kill the world to do it." He chewed, swallowed. The real puppet master behind him is a man named Obito Uchiha, who everyone thinks is dead, and working under the legacy plan of Madara Uchiha, who everyone also thinks is dead, but who was alive in a cave for decades, kept going by Hashirama's cells and pure stubbornness. The kitchen was very quiet. Kushina's chopsticks had stopped moving. Minato's tea was untouched. And behind all of it, Naruto said, is the infinite Tsukuyomi, a genjutsu cast on the moon that would put the entire world to sleep forever. A dream where nothing is real and nothing hurts and nobody has to make a choice again. He looked up from his bowl. His eyes were blue, normal blue, but behind them, very faintly, something turned. "It's not going to happen," Naruto said. "But we've got some time before the big stuff. The next 2.5 years are mostly them gathering resources and us growing up." Minato absorbed this, processed it, filed it in the section of his brain labeled "Things My Son Knows because he is literally omniscient and I am going to have an aneurysm." 2.5 years, Minato repeated, "give or take. And you know exactly when each move happens, more or less." Kushina reached over and refilled Naruto's rice bowl. "Then eat," she said. "If you've got 2.5 years, you've got time for seconds." Naruto grinned and took the rice. The 2.5 years passed, the way time passes when a god is trying to be a teenager, unevenly, punctuated by moments of cosmic absurdity, sandwiched between long stretches of something almost resembling normalcy. Snapshot. Age 13, 4 months after the Valley of the End. Training Ground 7. Naruto stood in the center of the field with his eyes closed while Minato threw kunai at him from 8 directions simultaneously. The exercise wasn't about dodging. Naruto didn't need to dodge anything. The exercise was about decision speed, the gap between stimulus and vote, the time it took 3 ancient consciousnesses to agree on a response. The first kunai approached. Inside Naruto's head, disintegrate the projectile. Deflect it gently. Catch it. Vote. 3 seconds. The kunai embedded itself in the ground by his feet. Too slow. Again, Naruto said. Minato threw. The vote happened. Destroy. Catch. 2 seconds. The kunai clipped his sleeve. Again. Bellicus. Destroy it. Soft redirect. Catch. 1.5 seconds. He caught the kunai but fumbled it. Again, they did it 100 times, then 1,000, then 10,000 over the course of weeks. Naruto wasn't training his body. He was training the system, finding the rhythms, the shortcuts, the places where Bellicus's instinct and Serena's instinct overlapped with his so closely that the vote became less of a debate and more of a reflex. By the end of the second month, the kunai exercise took 0.4 seconds. Vote, motion, action, seamless. Bellicus complained that this was bureaucratic optimization and beneath the dignity of a cosmic entity. Serena pointed out that faster votes meant faster compassion. Bellicus told her to be quiet. Serena hummed. Snapshot. Age 13, 8 months in. Jiraiya had come to the village to train Naruto. The legendary Sannin, the Toad Sage, the man who had taught Minato and written terrible novels and traveled the world gathering intelligence. He stood in the training field behind the Hokage's house and looked at his godson with the specific expression of a man who has been briefed on something impossible and is trying to remain professional. So, Jiraiya said, "You're the kid who turned Orochimaru into a baby." "He's doing fine, by the way," Naruto said. "Anbu Daycare says he's a very calm infant, barely any snake summoning." Jiraiya stared at him, then he laughed, a big, genuine, belly-deep laugh that shook his white hair and crinkled his face. "All right, kid, I like you. Let's see what you've got." "What do you want to see?" "Show me the Rasengan." Naruto raised his hand. A Rasengan formed, perfect, standard size. "Now make it bigger." Bellicus perked up. He said bigger. The man said bigger. I heard him say. "Control bigger," Naruto said internally. "Not destroy the training field bigger. Vote, enlarge the Rasengan to twice standard size. Controlled. 3 times. Twice. 2.5. Deal. Serena, deal. The Rasengan swelled to 2.5 times standard size. Dense humming, perfectly stable. Jiraiya's eyes went wide. "Add nature transformation," Jiraiya said. Because Jiraiya was a teacher and teachers push, Naruto added wind. The Rasengan screamed, a high-pitched whine that cut the air, visible blades of wind chakra orbiting the sphere like rings around a planet. The grass for 30 feet in every direction flattened. Jiraiya took a step back. Minato never managed nature transformation on the Rasengan. He said it was theoretically possible, but it's a committee thing, Naruto said. "You keep saying that. It keeps being true." Jiraiya trained him anyway. Not in power. Power was irrelevant. He trained Naruto in control, in subtlety, in the 1,000 small things that made a shinobi more than a weapon. How to gather information without omniscience. How to read a room with his eyes instead of his cosmic awareness. How to talk to people without accidentally terrifying them by knowing everything about their lives. "You're going to be dealing with humans your whole life," Jiraiya told him once, sitting on a log, sharing a lunch of rice balls. "And humans need to feel like they're being heard, not scanned." Inside Naruto's head, Serena said, "I like this man." Bellicus said, "His novels are atrocious." Naruto said, "Both valid points." Snapshot. Age 14, a year and a half in. Sasuke was training with Kakashi at the field adjacent to Naruto's. They could see each other through the trees. Sasuke's Sharingan was 3 Tomoe now. Fully matured, the result of months of dedicated work without any shortcut or curse mark or dark bargain. He had earned it through the specific kind of stubbornness that only an Uchiha could produce. Kakashi had been teaching him the Chidori variants. Not just the standard assassination technique, the stream, the senbon, the sharp spear. Sasuke absorbed them with a focus that was quieter than it used to be, less desperate, more deliberate. The rage was still there. Itachi was still out there. And Sasuke's feelings about that hadn't resolved into anything simple, but it was banked, controlled. A furnace with a door, not a forest fire. One day, Sasuke walked to the fence between the two training grounds. Naruto was on the other side, lying in the grass, staring at the sky. The mindscape was quiet. A rare afternoon where Bellicus was sulking about something Serena said, and Serena was giving him space, which meant Naruto got to just exist for a while. No debates, no votes, just a kid in the grass. Sasuke stood at the fence. He didn't say anything for a long time. "You're staring," Naruto said without looking. "What did you do to me?" Sasuke asked. "At the valley." Naruto was quiet. "Then I took the curse mark out, cleaned up the poison Orochimaru left in your system, sent you home." "That's not what I'm asking." Sasuke's jaw worked. "The feeling in my chest, the warmth, what is that?" Naruto finally looked at him. "That's your own chakra, Sasuke. Without the corruption. That's what it actually feels like when it's just yours." Sasuke processed this. His hand went to his chest, unconsciously, the way it did sometimes, touching the place where the curse mark had been, where there was now just skin and warmth, and something he didn't have a word for. He turned and walked back to his training ground without another word. But the stiffness in his shoulders was a fraction less than it had been. Kakashi noticed. Kakashi noticed everything. And for the first time in years, the copy ninja allowed himself something dangerously close to hope. Snapshot. Age 15, 2 years in. The vote system had evolved. What used to take minutes now took seconds. What used to take seconds was approaching instantaneous. The three voices had not become one. They were still distinct, still different, still fundamentally opposed in their orientations, but they had learned each other's rhythms. Bellicus knew when destruction was going to be overruled and preemptively adjusted his proposals. Serena knew when mercy needed to be practical and tempered her requests with specifics. Naruto had become so fluent in the language of both that his proposals often anticipated their objections before they could voice them. The god was getting faster. And in the background of it all, like a drumbeat growing louder in a song that hadn't reached its crescendo, the Akatsuki moved. Naruto felt them. He always felt them. The way you feel weather changing, not through any single sense, but through the accumulated pressure of something building. 2 more Jinchuriki targeted. One extracted the Three Tails, whose host died in Water Country while Naruto was eating lunch in Konoha, and the intelligence hadn't reached him through official channels fast enough. And the vote to intervene had stalled because Bellicus wanted to destroy the entire Akatsuki in one stroke, and Serena wanted to save only the host, and Naruto couldn't get consensus in the 4-second window before the extraction completed. That one kept him up at night. The vote he couldn't cast fast enough. The life he couldn't save because 3 voices needed to agree, and agreement took time, and time was the one thing not even omnipotence could always beat. He told no one about it. In the mindscape, Bellicus was furious, at himself for once, for taking too long. Serena wept quietly. Naruto stood between them and said nothing, because sometimes there was nothing to say. He got faster after that, shaved another 1/10 of a second off the average vote time. Then another, then another. The Three Tails host became the reason the system improved, which was a terrible price for an improvement that should have been free. The morning Naruto turned 15, 2.5 years after the Valley of the End, 2 things happened. The first was that Kushina made a cake. It was lopsided. The frosting was orange, Serena's influence, transmitted through inexplicable kitchen breezes that seemed to push Kushina's hand toward the orange food coloring. Minato put candles on it. 15 candles, because that's how old their son was, even though the entity inside their son was older than the concept of age. Naruto blew them out. Inside his head, Bellicus refused to participate. Serena blew with him, a tiny pulse of cosmic wind that made every candle go out simultaneously and also ruffled the curtains. "Happy birthday," Kushina said, and hugged him hard enough that a normal person would have complained. Naruto wasn't normal, but he hugged back like he was, because that was the point. The second thing that happened was that a message arrived. Not through official channels, not by hawk or courier or coded scroll. It was left on a bridge on the eastern outskirts of Konoha, a small folded paper wedged between the wooden planks, written in a cipher that only 2 people in the world would recognize. An old cipher, the kind 2 brothers invented as children, sitting on the dock of the Uchiha compound before the night that ended everything. Sasuke found it on his morning run. He stopped, he picked it up, he unfolded it, his Sharingan activated involuntarily, reading the cipher at speed, translating symbols that his fingers remembered forming when he was 4 years old and his brother was 9, and the world was small and safe and whole. 1 line, 2 words, a location and a time. Sasuke's hands shook, not from fear, from something bigger than fear, something that lived in the same place as grief and longing, and the 8-year-old boy who had never stopped looking for his brother in every shadow. He refolded the paper, put it in his pocket, walked home, told no one. That evening, he went to the bridge, the Eastern Bridge, old, wooden, crossing a stream that fed into the Naka River. Nobody used it. Nobody came here. The trees on either side were thick and quiet, and the light was the color of amber by the time Sasuke arrived. He was not alone. Naruto was already there, sitting on the railing eating a rice ball. Sasuke stopped. "How did you—" "The cipher showed up in the intelligence report this morning," Naruto said. "I recognized it." He took another bite. "I know who it's from. This isn't your. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just here." Naruto held up a second rice ball. "Want one?" Sasuke stared at him. The rage was right there. The old, reliable anger at being known, at being anticipated, at existing in a world where someone could see through every wall he built. But underneath it, and this was the new part, the part that had been growing since the valley, relief. Because going to meet his brother alone was terrifying, and not going was worse. And having someone there who could not be hurt by anything Itachi might do was, whether Sasuke would ever admit it or not, the only thing that made this possible. He took the rice ball. He didn't say thank you. Itachi arrived at dusk. He came from the tree line on the far side, stepping out of the shadows with a quietness that made the forest seem loud by comparison. No Akatsuki cloak, no headband. Civilian clothes, dark pants, a plain shirt, sandals. He looked smaller without the uniform, younger, more human. He looked sick. That was the first thing Sasuke noticed, the pallor, the thinness of his wrists, the faint controlled tension around his eyes that spoke of managed pain. Itachi moved the way he always had, perfectly, gracefully, every step precise, but underneath the precision was effort, the kind that shouldn't be required for walking. The 2 brothers looked at each other across the bridge, 15 feet apart, amber light and quiet water, and the specific silence that exists between people who share too much history and not enough words. Naruto stayed on the railing, eating his rice ball, looking at the water, pretending to not exist with the studied casualness of someone who could literally cease to exist if he wanted to. "Sasuke," Itachi said, "why are you here?" Sasuke's voice was controlled but thin. "Why the old code?" "Because the old code was ours, before everything else." "There is no before everything else. You made sure of that." Itachi closed his eyes, opened them. The Sharingan was not active, just dark eyes, tired and old, in a face that was still technically young. "I need to tell you something," Itachi said, "and I need you to let me finish before you react." "Why should I let you do anything?" "Because I'm dying, Sasuke, and there are things you deserve to know before I do." The forest was quiet. The stream moved. Naruto's rice ball was gone, but he held the wrapper, turning it slowly in his fingers, because his hands needed something to do, while Serena wept inside his head, and Bellica stood very, very still. Itachi told him. He told him about the coup, about the Uchiha clan's leadership plotting to overthrow Konoha's government, a coup born from decades of political marginalization, of suspicion after the Nine Tails attack, of a clan pushed to the edges of its own village until violence seemed like the only path back to relevance. He told him about the meetings with the village elders. Danzo, the 3rd Hokage, the impossible math, a civil war that would kill thousands, weaken Konoha to the point of destruction, and end the Uchiha anyway. Or one person, one night, one unspeakable act that would prevent all of it. He told him about the choice, the order, the night, and then he told him the part that no intelligence report could capture and no cipher could encode, that every single person he killed that night had a face he recognized, and he remembered every one of them, and the weight of their ghosts was the real illness killing him. "I was 13, Itachi said. His voice was steady because he had practiced this. Not the words, but the steadiness. The way a man on a cliff practices not looking down. The village asked me to choose between my clan and everyone else. And I chose everyone else. But the person I could not kill, the one person I built the entire night around protecting, was you. Sasuke's face was a landscape of tectonic activity. Rage rising, cresting, threatening to break the surface, and then something else, something underneath, pushing back. Not forgiveness, not yet. But the first fracture in the wall that had kept everything out since he was 8 years old. You left me alive, Sasuke said. You told me to hate you. You told me to get stronger. You wanted me to come after you. I wanted you to have purpose, Itachi said. Even if it was a terrible one, I wanted you to survive. That's not your decision to make. No, it wasn't. And I'm sorry. The words sat in the air between them, small, insufficient, but real, the way real things are, imperfect and too small, and the only thing available. Sasuke's fists were clenched. His jaw was locked. His Sharingan activated, spun, and then, deliberately, with the kind of effort that requires more strength than any jutsu, deactivated. He looked at his brother with his own eyes. Dark, human, young. You're dying, Sasuke said. Yes. How long? Weeks, perhaps less. The rage crested. It hit the wall Sasuke had been building since the Valley of the End. The new wall, the one made not of hatred, but of something he couldn't name. Something warm and confusing that had been placed in his chest by a friend who refused to let him fall. The rage hit the wall and broke against it, and what came through the cracks was not calm. It was grief. Pure, raw, unprocessed, the grief of a boy who had just learned that his brother loved him and was dying. And both of those things were true at the same time. Sasuke cried. Not dramatically, not with the theatrical intensity of a ninja in a moment of crisis. He cried the way people actually cry when the thing they've been holding collapses, silently at first, then not silently, then with the ugly, graceless, full body shaking that happens when 15 years of compressed agony finally finds an exit. Itachi crossed the bridge. He reached Sasuke and did something he hadn't done since that night, since the finger to the forehead, since the last gesture of love disguised as cruelty. He put his arms around his brother and held him. Sasuke's fists hit his chest, not attacking, just hitting, the way a child hits the thing that hurt them, not to damage, but to express the inexpressible. Itachi held him through it. His own eyes were wet, but his arms were steady, because that's what older brothers do. On the railing, Naruto was looking at the water very intently. His jaw was tight. In the mindscape, Serena's light was flickering with grief so pure it made the void feel warm. Bellicus stood in his corner, his red-black energy banked low and made a sound. The sound was neither "this is weak" nor "this is strong." It was something else. Something that existed in the space between rage and its opposite, in the territory that Bellicus never admitted he had. If pressed, he would have denied making it. If pressed harder, he would have destroyed the thing doing the pressing. The crying slowed, stopped. Sasuke pulled back, wiped his face with the back of his hand, and looked at Itachi with eyes that were red from tears instead of Sharingan. I don't forgive you, Sasuke said. I know. But I understand. Itachi's breath caught, just slightly, just enough. Naruto stood up from the railing. He walked toward the brothers slowly, hands in his pockets. His eyes met Itachi's, and Itachi saw something in them that made his analytical genius falter. Behind the blue, spinning so slowly, it was almost imperceptible, were stars. You're sick, Naruto said. Itachi nodded. There was no point in denying anything to someone whose eyes held galaxies. Naruto looked at the sky. In his head, the vote happened in 2 seconds. Bellicus. The man killed an entire clan. Let him die. Serena, he did it to save a village. Save him. He did an unforgivable thing for understandable reasons, and his brother just found him again. Save him. Fine, but not because I care. Motion carried. Motion carried. Naruto placed a hand on Itachi's shoulder. The touch was light, unremarkable, the way a friend puts a hand on a shoulder. But beneath the skin, beneath the cells, beneath the molecular architecture of a body that had been eating itself for years, something changed, something rewrote. Biological restoration. The technique was invisible. No flash, no glow, no dramatic transformation. But inside Itachi's body, a war ended. The virus that had been consuming his lungs reversed. The chakra overuse damage to his pathways healed. The cellular degradation that had been turning his muscles into something fragile and temporary stopped, unwound, and rebuilt. Nerves that had been dying reconnected. Organs that had been failing resumed. The timeline of his body's destruction was edited. Not the events, not the choices that led here, but the physical cost. The dying stopped. Itachi took a breath. Deep, full. The air went all the way down into lungs that expanded without pain, through a chest that didn't tighten, and back out in an exhale that carried years of careful, rationed breathing. He stared at his hands, flexed them, felt the strength in his fingers that had been gone for so long he'd forgotten it was supposed to be there. Why? Itachi asked. His voice was uneven for the first time in the conversation. Naruto glanced at Sasuke. Sasuke was watching, not understanding, not able to understand, but seeing the change in his brother's posture, in the way he stood, in the absence of the controlled pain that had been so constant. Sasuke hadn't even registered it as unusual until it was gone. Because you matter to him, Naruto said, and he matters to me. Motion carried. Itachi looked at Naruto, the intelligence behind his eyes, the same analytical brilliance that had made him the youngest Anbu captain in history, was running at full speed and arriving at conclusions that did not fit any framework he possessed. What are you? Itachi asked. Mostly tired, Naruto said. Come on, both of you. My mom's making dinner and she always makes too much. Itachi and Sasuke had dinner at the Uzumaki Namikaze house. It was profoundly awkward. Minato, who had read the classified files on the Uchiha Master, understood more than most what Itachi had done and why, was professionally cordial. Kushina, who had read no files and simply saw a thin young man who needed feeding, gave Itachi 3 helpings of everything and told him he was too skinny. Sasuke ate in silence. Itachi ate in something that might have been wonder, tasting food without the dulling layer of constant pain for the first time in years. Naruto ate the way he always ate, enthusiastically, loudly, with Bellicus criticizing the seasoning and Serena sending warm breezes through the kitchen that made the curtains flutter. Nobody talked about clans or massacres or cosmic power. They talked about the weather and the reconstruction efforts and whether the new ramen shop on 3rd Street was as good as Ichiraku's. It was not. Nothing was. This was unanimous across all 3 voices. Itachi left that night. He went back to the Akatsuki. He had to for now, because his intelligence role inside the organization was still critical and his disappearance would raise alarms. But he left different. Healed. With Sasuke's face in his memory as something other than the crying child he left behind. And Sasuke went home to his apartment, and the glass of water on his nightstand was somehow full again, and the warmth in his chest was a little bigger, and he lay in bed staring at the ceiling and thinking about something that was not revenge for the first time in 7 years. The months after the bridge moved with the inevitability of a story approaching its climax, Deidara struck first. The intelligence came in at 0400, a village in the land of Earth bombed from the air, civilians scattered, the Jinchuriki of the Four Tails drawn out and engaged. Kakashi mobilized a response team within the hour. Naruto went with them. They arrived to find the landscape rewritten. Craters everywhere, buildings reduced to rubble. Deidara was overhead, standing on a massive clay bird, long blonde hair streaming, one mechanical eye scope whirring as he surveyed his damage with the satisfaction of a man who genuinely believed mass destruction was an art form. The Four Tails Jinchuriki was pinned. Not dead. Deidara needed him alive for extraction, but battered, exhausted, surrounded by clay constructs that were closing in. My art is an explosion! Deidara screamed from above because Deidara always screamed this. It was his catchphrase. He was very committed to it. He reached into his hip pouch, pulled out a massive lump of clay, began to mold it. The clay bird beneath him climbed higher until it was a speck against the overcast sky. His hands worked. The mouth on his left palm chewed the clay. The shape formed, enormous, detailed, terrible. C3, the masterpiece. A bomb that could level a city, designed to detonate with the specific artistry that Deidara considered his highest achievement. He released it. The clay sculpture fell, a massive stylized figure descending toward the village and the Jinchuriki and the response team with the lazy gravity of something that knew it had all the time in the world because nothing in the world could stop it. Inside Naruto's head, the vote was instant. Bellicus. I want to make it disappear at the exact moment he's most proud. Serena, the civilians. Now. Motion. Naruto raised one hand. Spatial compression. The C3 falling, expanding, beginning to glow with the prelude of detonation was caught. Not physically, spatially. The space it occupied was folded, compressed. The massive bomb and all its destructive potential were squeezed into a point the size of a fingernail, wrapped in compressed reality that sealed the detonation energy inside a space too small for it to express itself. A city-leveling explosion packed into something you could lose in a pocket. The fingernail-sized point hung in the air for a moment. Then it vanished with a faint pop, like a soap bubble, like a thought abandoned, like art that the universe had decided to reject. Deidara watched. From 1,000 feet up on his clay bird, his mechanical eyes zoomed in. He saw the C3 vanish, his masterpiece, his ultimate expression, gone, not destroyed, that he could have respected, not countered, that he could have studied, just compressed, dismissed, treated as a minor spatial inconvenience. That was my best one, Deidara screamed. Naruto, on the ground, looked up, his voice carried. That was your best one? The sound that came out of Deidara was not a word in any language. It was the pure distilled rage of an artist told his life's work was negligible. He dove, the clay bird screaming downward, hands already shaping a dozen smaller bombs, his entire artistic philosophy reduced to a single, furious thought: destroy this person specifically. Naruto waited until Deidara was close enough to see his face. Then, existence suppression. The technique targeted only one thing, the unique chakra mutation that allowed Deidara's clay to detonate. The mouths on his palms, the one hidden on his chest. The specific interaction between his earth-nature chakra and the explosive clay. All of it. Suppressed. Not removed, not permanently altered, just quietly turned off. Like unplugging a lamp, the clay in Deidara's hands became clay. Just clay. Inert. The bird beneath him, which was also clay, which was also dependent on the same chakra network to fly, became inert too. Deidara and his bird dropped out of the sky like a rock. Kakashi caught him, which was generous. The Konoha team restrained him, which was easy, because a Deidara without his explosions was just an angry man with a ponytail and opinions about aesthetics. He was arrested, bound, and deposited with the local authority while the Four Tails Jinchuriki was given medical attention. Kakashi looked at Naruto. Naruto was already eating something, a field ration bar that he'd pulled from his vest. You turned off his abilities, Kakashi said. Temporarily, Naruto said. They'll come back in a couple weeks, but by then he'll be in a cell somewhere with chakra suppression seals. And the bomb, in a very small place where it can't hurt anyone. Kakashi absorbed this. He had been absorbing Naruto's impossibilities for over 3 years now, and the absorption process had not gotten easier, but it had gotten quieter. Kakashi no longer asked how. He just noted the result and moved on. The way a man living at the base of a volcano learns to stop questioning the mountain and start planning around it. Hidan and Kakuzu came next. A month later, a Konoha patrol near the border of the Land of Fire encountered them at dusk. 2 Akatsuki members moving in tandem, the immortal zealot and the ancient mercenary. The patrol was experienced, Junin level. They were also, against Hidan and Kakuzu, outmatched. Hidan drew first blood within 30 seconds. Literally, with his ritual. He nicked one of the Jonin with his scythe, licked the blood, drew his circle, and began the Jashin ritual that turned him into a living voodoo doll. Every wound he inflicted on himself transferred to his victim. He was laughing. He was always laughing. Naruto arrived via spatial step. One moment he was in Konoha eating dinner with his parents. The next he was standing at the edge of the border clearing, hands in his pockets, watching Hidan stab himself in the leg and giggle while a Konoha Junin screamed. In his head, Bellicus, this is the most annoying human I have ever encountered. Serena, he's suffering too, deep down. He is not. He is enjoying this. Erase him. We're not erasing him, but we're turning off his immortality. That's not as satisfying. It'll be funnier. Bellicus considered this. Proceed. motion carried. Causal rewrite, targeted. The technique reached backward, not through time, through causality. The specific chain of cause and effect that had led to Hidan's immortality was found, isolated, and edited. The Joshin ritual that had made him unkillable, the exact moment, the exact prayer, the exact confluence of dark faith and biological mutation that had rendered him functionally immortal, was rewritten, not erased from history. Just altered, the way you change a single word in a sentence and the whole meaning shifts. The moment that made Hidan immortal still happened. It just didn't work. The effect was immediate. Hidan was mid-stab, his ritual pike driven into his own thigh, grinning maniacally, expecting the ecstatic, painless transfer of damage. Instead, he felt it, really felt it. The pike was in his thigh, and his thigh was screaming, and the blood was his, and it hurt the way things hurt when you are a mortal person with nerve endings and pain receptors and no divine protection from the consequences of driving a metal spike into your own leg. Hidan screamed. Not the usual scream. His usual screams were performative, theatrical, part of the ritual. This was different. This was a man who had not experienced real pain in decades, suddenly receiving a concentrated dose. What the fuck? Hidan yanked the pike out. Blood, his blood, red and real and not magically redirected, poured from the wound. He stared at it, squeezed the wound, screamed again. The Junin on the ground, released from the ritual's link, gasped and went still. Alive. The wound stopped mirroring. Hidan looked at his hands, at the blood, at the pain that was not going away. He stabbed himself in the arm experimentally. It hurt. It really, truly, non-ritually hurt. What did you do? He shrieked at Naruto. Basic maintenance, Naruto said. Kakuzu, standing 20 feet away, watched the exchange with the cold calculation of a 200-year-old mercenary. He had survived this long by knowing when a fight was not worth having. He looked at Naruto. Really looked, the way a predator assesses another predator, and what he saw made his 5 hearts, all of them, agree on a single point for the first time in their collective existence. Leave. Kakuzu ran. He got 40 feet before Naruto said, "Selective gravity erasure, individual," and Kakuzu floated gently off the ground, legs churning uselessly, arms grabbing at air that would not hold him. The Konoha patrol collected both Akatsuki members. Hidan was bleeding and panicking and praying to Jashin with the frantic energy of a man whose god had just been rendered irrelevant. Kakuzu was floating 6 feet off the ground with the resigned expression of someone who had lived 2 centuries and was finally encountering something he could not buy, fight, or negotiate his way out of. Naruto went home. Kushina had saved him a plate. "How was your evening?" she asked. "Met some interesting people." "That's nice, sweetie." The Akatsuki fell apart in pieces after that. Sasori was captured by a combined team led by Kakashi. Kasame, the monster of the mist, was cornered by a coalition of water country forces and Might Guy, who punched him into next week with the 7th gate and a level of enthusiasm that would have been concerning from anyone else. The smaller members scattered, the infrastructure crumbled, and through it all, the intelligence filtered upward. The real threat was not the Akatsuki as an organization. It was the shadow behind it. The masked man called Toby. The plan that ran deeper than any of the operatives knew. Pain moved last. He moved at dawn, because Pain understood symbolism the way other men understood weapons, intuitively, as a function of survival, as a tool that could reshape the battlefield before the first blow was struck. Dawn was the beginning. Dawn was the light after darkness, and Pain was coming to Konoha to test whether there was anything in this village, in this world, worth preserving. 6 bodies, 6 paths, 6 sets of Rinnegan eyes, all controlled by a single mind, all moving in the synchronized perfection of absolute grief turned into a weapon system. They descended on Konoha's outer wall at 0547, and the first Shinra Tensei, the gravity technique that was Pain's signature, cleared an entire city block in a single pulse. Buildings folded outward from the epicenter. Stone and wood and glass moved as a single wave, expanding, flattening everything in a sphere of repulsive force that made the ground itself bow. The Deva path stood in the center of the new crater, arms extended, Rinnegan spinning, and spoke with a voice that carried across the village without raising its volume. "I am Pain. Where is the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki?" Konoha scrambled. Anbu deployed. Barrier teams activated the outer perimeter shields. Minato, the fourth Hokage, who had been preparing for this since his son told him about it over breakfast 3 years ago, was on the Hokage monument within seconds, his Hiraishin markers blazing, his white and red coat snapping in the wind of displacement. The defense was coordinated and fierce. Junin engaged the individual paths. Kakashi went after the Asura path, which was half machine, half nightmare. Might Guy challenged the Preta path, which absorbed chakra, which meant Guy fought it with pure taijutsu, which meant Guy was thrilled. Shikamaru, now a chunin with his father's tactical mind, coordinated Anbu movements from a rooftop. But the 6 paths of pain were not ordinary opponents. Each one was a body with a different ability, all networked to a single intelligence. They shared vision. They shared awareness. They fought as one mind with 6 bodies, and that mind was Nagato. A man with the Rinnegan, the eyes of the Sage of 6 Paths, the most powerful dojutsu in recorded history, the animal path summoned. Massive creatures, a multi-headed dog, a giant bird, a charging rhino, materialized in the streets of Konoha, tearing through structures. The human path targeted individuals, ripping intelligence from minds with a touch. The Naraka path revived fallen paths through the King of Hell summon, making the assault feel endless. And the Deva path, the main body, the central node, stood in the center of it all and prepared the technique that would end the village. Shinra Tensei, not the small one, the real one, the full-scale, nothing within a mile survives version. The Deva path rose into the air. Gravitational force gathered around it in visible waves, the air distorting, light bending, the ground beneath it cracking in concentric circles. This technique had destroyed Hidden Rain Village's opposition in a single pulse. This technique was Pain's argument against the world expressed as physics. And then everything stopped, not slowed, stopped. The gathering force, the rising body, the concentric cracks, the summoned beasts mid-charge, the 6 paths of pain, each one in mid-motion, frozen. Not by ice or a jutsu or a sealing technique, by something simpler, something absolute. A decision, made somewhere inside a 15-year-old's head, that the word no applied to everything currently happening. Naruto stepped out of his house. He was wearing his orange jacket. His hair was messy. He had, very clearly, just been eating breakfast. There was a grain of rice on his cheek. He walked through the rubble-strewn street with his hands in his pockets. Around him, the frozen tableau of Pain's assault hung in the air, summoned beasts mid-leap, debris suspended, 6 bodies locked in positions of violence like a photograph of a nightmare. Naruto stopped in the middle of the street. He looked at the Deva path. The Rinnegan stared back, unblinking, the concentric circles of the eyes spinning even in the frozen body. "I see him," Naruto said. In his head, the vote had already passed. "Bellicus, the 6 targets are puppets. Find the puppeteer." "Serena, find him. Talk to him." Naruto, finding him now. Causal vision. Naruto's eyes deepened. The blue vanished. The stars came, swirling galaxies, ancient light, the cosmos turning behind his pupils as he looked through the cause and effect chains of the 6 bodies like following strings on a puppet. The chakra receivers in each body, the signal they transmitted, the frequency, the origin point. He traced it through miles of forest and mountain and rain, following the invisible thread to its source. He found Nagato, a red-haired young man in a mechanical chair, emaciated in pain, running 6 bodies through sheer will and Rinnegan power, hidden in a structure on a mountain peak miles from Konoha. And beside him, paper wings folded, a blue-haired woman watching through her own techniques with the quiet vigilance of someone who had spent her entire life keeping this man alive. "Found him," Naruto said. Spatial step, precision. He was gone from the street. 1 step, and the street was empty, and the frozen paths of pain remained frozen because the will holding them had not been released. He appeared in a room that smelled like rain and metal, and the specific sterile quality of long-maintained medical equipment. The chair was there. The chakra receivers sprouting from the back were there. And Nagato was there, his destroyed body propped in the seat, his Rinnegan eyes fixed on a bank of sensory feeds that showed him Konoha from 6 angles simultaneously. Nagato felt him arrive. The Rinnegan couldn't not feel it, the displacement, the impossible arrival, the presence that had just materialized beside him without any detectable spatial ninjutsu signature. He turned his head. slowly, because turning his head cost effort, he saw a teenager with blonde hair and a grain of rice on his cheek, standing in his sanctum, hands in his pockets, looking at him with eyes that held something vast. Konan moved. She was between them before the thought finished forming, paper unfolding from her body, forming wings, forming blades, forming a barrier of 600 sheets of explosive tag paper between Naruto and the chair. Her face was calm. Her hands were not. "Don't," Naruto said. Not a command, not a threat. Just a word, spoken with a gentleness that made Konan hesitate despite every instinct telling her to act. He sat down, on the floor, cross-legged, right in front of the chair, right in front of Konan's paper barrier. "You can keep the paper up," he said. "I'm not here to fight." Nagato stared at him. The Rinnegan processed him, his chakra, his physical form, the thing behind his physical form that the Rinnegan could almost see, like looking at the sun through a filter that was not quite dark enough. What the eyes showed Nagato did not match anything in his experience. The boy's chakra was not measurable. It did not have a quantity. It was like trying to count the ocean. "You are the one," Nagato said. His voice was thin, strained, the voice of a man who used all his strength to speak through other mouths. "The one from the Chunin exams, who levitated an army." "Yeah, that was me. My intelligence said it was impossible." "Your intelligence was right. It was impossible. I did it anyway." Silence. Konan's paper bristled. Nagato's fingers gripped the arms of his chair. "I want to understand," Nagato said. "You have power that I cannot comprehend. You could have stopped my assault before it began. You could have ended me from across a continent. Why are you sitting on my floor?" "Because sitting on your floor is how you talk to someone," Naruto said. "And I want to talk." The Deva path miles away was still frozen. The village was still held. The summoned beasts were still suspended. The moment was crystallized. The war paused while a god sat on a floor and a broken man looked down at him from a chair. Nagato talked, not because he wanted to, because something in Naruto's presence made the talking inevitable, the way water finds cracks, the way grief finds exits. He talked about Yahiko, his best friend, the one who had believed in peace with the specific impossible faith that only truly good people produce. He talked about how Yahiko died, killed, betrayed, used as a hostage in a political trap that forced Nagato to choose between his friend and his principles, and chose in the end to lose both. He talked about the rain, about Amegakure, the village hidden in the rain, where it was always raining, where the sky never cleared, where even the architecture wept, about what it felt like to take control of that village and become its god, and discover that godhood was not power but loneliness, an infinite and mechanical loneliness that came from seeing everything and being seen by no one. He talked about the plan, the tailed beast as a weapon so terrible that nations would abandon war rather than risk its use, mutually assured destruction as a path to peace. The same logic that every generation of warmakers produced, dressed in new clothes, carrying the same fatal flaw. It required someone to hold the weapon, and anyone who held the weapon was eventually consumed by it. Naruto listened. In the mindscape, Serena listened too, her light dimming with every word, absorbing the grief the way her nature demanded, holding it so Naruto didn't have to hold it alone. Bellicus was silent, which was rare, and the silence was not fury. It was something else, something Bellicus would never name, something that existed in the negative space between rage and the thing rage is built to protect against. When Nagato finished, the room was quiet. Konan had lowered the paper barrier at some point. She was sitting too, on a crate, watching Naruto with eyes that had not blinked. "Pain doesn't stop when the cycle breaks," Naruto said. "You know that. You've been trying to break the cycle for years, and the pain hasn't stopped. It hasn't even slowed." Nagato said nothing. Yahiko believed in something. Naruto continued. "He believed that people could choose to be better, and you think that belief died when he did. But it didn't. You've been carrying it this whole time. The plan, the weapon, the fear, the forced peace, that's not what he wanted. You know it's not. It's what you built because you couldn't stand the world he believed in being wrong." Nagato's hands tightened on the chair, his jaw set. "I carry something too," Naruto said. "Two voices. One wants to destroy everything. One wants to save everything. And I have to live between them every second and make the call. And sometimes the call takes too long and someone dies, and I have to live with that. And sometimes the call is easy and unanimous, and I feel like a god, and then I go home and eat ramen, and remember that I'm a kid who argues with his own head. He paused. Let the words settle. You can't piece the world into peace, Nagato. Not with a weapon, not with fear. The cycle doesn't stop until someone stops breaking themselves trying to end it and starts living like it's already broken. The silence lasted a long time. The chakra receivers in Nagato's back pulsed faintly with the effort of maintaining 6 frozen bodies across a distance. You healed your friend, Nagato said. The Uchiha's brother, our intelligence confirmed it. Yeah. The Rinnegan looked at Naruto, through Naruto, at the thing that lived behind the blue eyes and the blonde hair and the rice grain on the cheek. Can you, Nagato began. His voice broke. He tried again. This body, this chair. Can you? He didn't finish. His eyes dropped to his own legs, thin, wasted, useless for years. His hands trembling, barely strong enough to form seals. The body that had been consuming itself to fuel a dead man's dream. Naruto was already voting bellicose. He attacked our village. He doesn't deserve. Yes. Yes. Bellicus paused. The vote was 2-1. Carried. But Bellicus looked at Naruto in the mindscape, and Naruto looked back, and something passed between them that was not a vote but an understanding. That sometimes mercy was not weakness, and that Bellicus's anger at the attack was real and valid, and also not the deciding factor. Fine, Bellicus said. 0.5 seconds. That's a record. Yet biological restoration, full. Naruto stood. He reached out and took Nagato's hands, both of them, gently, the way you hold something fragile. The technique ran, not fast, not slow. 30 seconds that contained years of reversal. The muscle atrophy unwound. The nerve damage healed. The chakra pathways scarred and burned from years of Rinnegan overuse smoothed and restored. The lungs, which had been rationing every breath, expanded. The legs, which had forgotten the concept of movement, remembered. Nagato's grip tightened on Naruto's hands as sensation flooded back. Real sensation, not the mediated, distant feedback of 6 external bodies, but the immediate, overwhelming, almost painful experience of inhabiting his own flesh for the first time in years. He stood up. It took him 3 tries. The first time his legs buckled, strong enough in theory but unfamiliar with the practice. The second time he caught himself on the chair. The third time Konan was there, and he leaned on her, and she held him with a silence that contained everything she had ever been afraid to say. He stood, shaking, breathing, his Rinnegan eyes wide with something that was not pain. Why? Nagato said. It was not a question about motive. It was a question about the universe. Serena voted yes immediately, Naruto said. Bellicus said fine after 0.5 seconds. That's a record. Nagato stared at him. The Rinnegan was for once not seeing anything other than the person in front of it. A teenager with galaxy eyes and a grain of rice on his cheek who had just walked into a god's sanctum and given that god back his legs. The Akatsuki organization is done, Naruto said. Whatever the two of you do next, that's yours to decide. But the plan ends here. The paths release, Konoha recovers, the weapon doesn't get built. Nagato was quiet for a long moment. Then, and if I refuse? Naruto looked at him calmly. The stars turned behind his eyes, not threatening, not dramatic, just present, the way gravity is present. Then I'll be back, and Bellicus will have voted yes by then. Nagato believed him. Of course he did. The Rinnegan did not lie, and what the Rinnegan saw behind this boy's eyes was not a threat. It was a certainty, the kind that does not need to threaten because the outcome is already decided. Nagato nodded. Different this time, not defiant, honest. Release the paths, Nagato said. In Konoha, miles away, 6 frozen bodies relaxed, went limp, crumpled to the ground like cut marionettes. The summoned beasts vanished. The gravitational force dissipated. The attack ended, not with a bang, not with a final jutsu bat, but with a man in a room deciding that the boy on his floor might be right. Konan watched Naruto leave. He walked out the door, down the mountain path, and vanished with a spatial step that displaced a handful of raindrops. She watched the space where he'd been and felt something she hadn't felt since Yahiko was alive. The specific, dangerous, intoxicating possibility that the world might not be hopeless. She turned to Nagato. He was still standing, still shaking, still alive. What now? She asked. Nagato looked at his hands, opened them, Closed them. I don't know, he said. Something different. Konoha rebuilt. Again, the damage from Pain's initial assault was significant. The eastern district was leveled, the outer wall was cracked, 37 civilians were injured, and 2 Anbu were dead from the first Shinra Tensei before Naruto froze everything. 2 people dead. Naruto knew their names. Serena told him, because Serena knew every name and she believed that the names mattered. Naruto went to the memorial stone. He stood in front of it in the rain. Konoha rain, not a Megakure rain, but rain is rain. And he didn't say anything, and he didn't vote on anything, and he didn't use any cosmic technique. He just stood there, a 15-year-old with a universe inside him, and let the rain be cold and the loss be real. Bellicus, in the mindscape, stood far back. Not out of respect. Bellicus did not do respect, but out of recognition that there was nothing to destroy here and nothing to debate. And the only appropriate response was to let the silence exist. Serena placed 2 points of light, tiny, almost invisible, barely distinguishable from the ambient starfield of the mindscape, in the void. 2 new stars, named for the 2 dead Anbu. They would burn forever because Serena had decided they would, and that was her vote, and Naruto seconded it, and Bellicus did not oppose it. Motion carried, quietly, without ceremony, the way the most important votes sometimes pass. The weeks after Pain's defeat were a strange kind of calm. The Akatsuki, already fractured, collapsed entirely. Its members were captured, killed, or scattered. The infrastructure, the bases, the intelligence networks, the financial systems, crumbled without leadership. Nagato and Conan disappeared into the world, 2 people with enormous power and no plan, which was either terrifying or hopeful depending on your perspective. Naruto leaned toward hopeful. Bellicus leaned toward terrifying. Serena suggested they split the difference. The vote was inconclusive, which happened sometimes and was fine. And then the mask came off. Not literally. Literally. The mask stayed on. But the pretense behind it, the buffoon act, the Toby is a good boy persona, the swirling orange mask hiding a Sharingan that should have been in a grave, dropped. Obito Uchiha made his move. The intelligence arrived not from a spy or a report, but from Itachi. He appeared in Minato's office via a method that made the Anbu guard rotate their shifts for a month afterward. Simply there, sitting in the chair across from the Hokage's desk, as if he'd always been there and reality had just caught up. The man behind the Akatsuki is Obito Uchiha, Itachi said. Minato's pen stopped. His face did something complicated. The name hit him in a place that was not professional. It hit him in the place where a teacher keeps the names of students he failed. Obito is dead, Minato said. He died at Kanabi Bridge. He survived. Madara Uchiha found him, healed him, shaped him. The cave collapsed. The loss of your student Rin, it broke him. Madara gave him a vision of a world without loss, without pain. The infinite Tsukuyomi, a genjutsu cast on the moon using the Ten Tails power that would put the world into an eternal dream. Minato was very still. He has the Gedo Mazo statue, Itachi continued. Or he did. Current intelligence suggests he's lost access to it. He paused. Your son may know more about that. The Gedo Mazo statue was in Naruto's pocket. It had been in Naruto's pocket since the Chunin exam's invasion, when he'd used dimensional compression to reduce the titanic outer path to the size of a marble. He'd almost forgotten about it. It sat in his jacket pocket alongside some lint and a ramen coupon and the compressed vessel of the most dangerous artifact in the shinobi world. When Minato asked him about it that evening, Naruto fished the marble out and held it up. It looked like a glass bead. It contained a being powerful enough to end civilization. I was going to deal with it eventually, Naruto said. It's been in your pocket for 3 years. I've been busy. Minato put his face in his hands. Kushina, standing in the kitchen doorway, said, at least it wasn't in the laundry. Obito's plan required the Gedo Mazo. Without it, the infinite Tsukuyomi was impossible. But Obito did not know the statue was gone. Not until he went to retrieve it and found an empty chamber and the faint, inexplicable residual signature of something that was not chakra and not nature energy and not anything he could classify. He came to find out what happened. And he came to find out what Naruto Uzumaki was. He came with Madara, not a resurrected Madara, not an Edo Tensei puppet. The real one, ancient, sustained beyond any natural lifespan by Hashirama's cells, and a will that bordered on geological. He had been in his cave, connected to the Gedo Mazo's life support, waiting for the plan to reach its final stage. When the statue vanished, the life support cut. He should have died. He did not. Because Madara Uchiha had spent a century refusing to die, and one more insult to mortality was not going to change that policy. They arrived at the border of the Land of Fire. 2 men, one in a mask, one too old and too alive and too angry. They did not sneak. They did not infiltrate. They walked openly toward Konoha, radiating enough killing intent to cause weather changes across 3 prefectures. Naruto felt them from the kitchen table. He was eating lunch, miso soup. The spoon stopped halfway to his mouth. Bellicus felt them too. The red-black energy in the mindscape surged, not in anger for once, but in anticipation. A slow, deep, almost reverent pulse. Something worthy, Bellicus said. Serena's light flickered. Something terrible. Naruto set the spoon down. Both, he told his parents. Kushina's face went pale, and then fierce, and then pale again. Minato was already moving. Hiraishin markers activating across the village, Anbu channels opening, the defense machinery of Konoha waking up. Stay here, Naruto told them. Naruto, Minato started. Dad, stay here, please. The please was the part that did it. Not the cosmic authority, not the star-flecked eyes. The please, the word of a 15-year-old who didn't want his parents anywhere near what was coming. Not because they couldn't handle it, because he could not handle them being there. Minato looked at his son, nodded once. Kushina grabbed Naruto's face with both hands. She didn't say, be careful, because that was ridiculous. She didn't say, I love you, because he already knew. She just held his face and looked at him, really looked, the way only Kushina Uzumaki could look, with a ferocity that made even Bellicus feel small, and then let go. Naruto walked out the front door, into the sunlight, into what was coming. Spatial step. He appeared at the border. Flat terrain, open sky, a wide river bisecting the landscape. The kind of ground you'd choose for a final battle if you had a sense of theater, which Madara absolutely did. They were waiting. Obito, mask on, Sharingan visible through the single eye hole, his body a patchwork of Hashirama cells and Uchiha fury. Madara, standing, barely but standing, his legendary chakra radiating off him like heat from a forge. He was old, old beyond old. But his eyes, the Rinnegan, awakened, spinning, were ageless. Naruto stood across from them. One boy, 2 apocalypses, a river between them. You have something that belongs to the plan, Obito said. His voice through the mask was distorted, wrong. The voice of a dead man speaking through a character he'd invented. The statue, Naruto said. It's in my pocket. Return it. No, Obito's Sharingan spun. The Kamui technique, his signature, his ultimate ability, the power to shift matter between dimensions, activated. Space warped around Naruto. The air itself folded, creating a vortex aimed at pulling Naruto's body into the Kamui dimension. Inside Naruto's head, Bellicus, he's trying to phase us. Phase, US. This is sad. He's a lost person doing terrible things because he's lost. Naruto, we'll deal with the lost person part later. Right now, block the Kamui. Vote, unanimous, instantaneous. Reality anchor. The Kamui hit a wall. Not a physical wall, a conceptual one. The space around Naruto became fixed, absolute, unmovable. The Kamui technique, which worked by shifting objects between dimensional layers, found that the specific space Naruto occupied was no longer willing to shift. It was anchored to reality so thoroughly that the concept of another dimension simply did not apply to the molecules around him. The vortex sputtered, collapsed. Obito stumbled, not physically, but conceptually. The way a man stumbles when the ground beneath him reveals it was never ground at all. Madara watched. He had not moved. He was observing with the patience of a man who had spent a century planning and could afford to watch a few minutes more. Interesting, Madara said. His voice was deep, cracked with age, but carrying an authority that had nothing to do with volume. Obito, step aside. Obito hesitated, then moved. Because Madara Uchiha did not make requests, Madara walked forward. Each step was deliberate. The river did not impede him. He walked on its surface, the water beneath his feet going still, not because he was using chakra to walk on it, but because the water appeared to recognize him and decided to be solid out of something like respect or something like fear. He stopped 10 feet from Naruto. The Rinnegan looked at the boy, took him in. The blonde hair, the blue eyes, the orange jacket, the 15-year-old frame that contained something the Rinnegan could almost perceive but not fully resolve, like looking at a mountain through fog, knowing it was there but not seeing the peak. "You are not a Jinchuriki," Madara said. "It was not a question. I am, among other things. The Nine Tails is in you, in a manner of speaking, and something else is in you, something that made my statue fit in your pocket." Naruto met the Rinnegan eyes. His own eyes shifted, the blue retreating, the stars coming forward, galaxies spinning into existence behind his pupils. The transformation began, the darkness spreading across his skin, the stars emerging like pinpricks of light in a midnight sky, the three horn-like protrusions forming on his forehead. He stood before Madara in his full form, the celestial sapien, the decision-maker, the voice of reason between rage and love. The form that had terrified Zabuza, broken Neiji's fatalism, ended invasions, and stopped claws the size of buildings. "I am Naruto Uzumaki," he said, and his voice was the triple echo, Bellicus beneath, Serena above, Naruto in the center, the decision-maker, and this is as far as your plan goes. Madara's response was not fear. Madara Uchiha had not felt fear since he was a child, and even then, the fear had been less "I am afraid" and more "the world should be afraid that I am not." His response was something closer to interest, analytical, clinical, the response of a man encountering the one variable he had not accounted for. And then Madara attacked, because Madara was Madara, and variables were things you tested, not things you surrendered to. Perfect Susanoo. The sky broke open with purple. Madara's Susanoo erupted from nothing, a colossus of spectral energy, 100-footed tall, armored, armed with two swords that could bisect mountain ranges. It was the most devastating combat technique in the shinobi world's history. Hashirama Senju had needed the wood dragon and the thousand-armed Buddha to match it. Entire battlefields had been reshaped by its mere activation. It swung. The sword came down on Naruto with enough force to split the landscape for miles. The river vaporized in the blade's path. The air itself compressed into a visible shockwave that flattened trees and kicked up a wall of dirt and stone. Naruto didn't move. The sword hit the space above him and stopped. Not with a clash or a shockwave of its own. It just stopped. The absolute most destructive physical technique in the world met the absolute most fundamental refusal in the universe, and the universe won. The Susanoo's arm trembled. The spectral armor cracked. Hairline fractures spreading from the point of contact, as if the Susanoo had struck not a person but a concept it was not equipped to damage. Madara's eyes widened. Fractionally, the first involuntary expression in decades, he swung again, both swords, cross-pattern intersecting at Naruto's position, a technique that could have destroyed a village. Both blades stopped, both cracked, Chibaku Tensei. Madara extended his hand toward the sky. The gravitational technique activated, a black core ascending, pulling earth, pulling stone, pulling the riverbed and the trees and the terrain itself upward. A planetoid formed, hundreds of feet across, a miniature celestial body made of stolen ground, growing by the second, its shadow falling across the landscape like an eclipse. It descended, falling toward Naruto with the mass of a mountain and the speed of a meteor. In the mindscape, the vote was calm. Control Bellicus. Dissolve it. Dissolve it gently. There's earth and life in there. Naruto, dissolve the technique. Release the components safely. Motion carried. Matter dissolution. Selective. The Chibaku Tensei came apart, not violently, gently. The gravitational bonds holding the planetoid together released. The earth, the stone, the trees, all of it separated, drifted, and settled back to the ground like leaves falling from a shaken branch. The massive sphere of compressed terrain dissolved into a gentle rain of soil and rock that pattered harmlessly across the landscape. Madara watched his technique disassemble like a child's toy. His jaw tightened. He deployed the limbo clones, invisible shadows of himself existing in a parallel reality, detectable only by the Rinnegan or Sage mode, capable of striking from a dimension the target couldn't perceive. The first limbo clone struck Naruto from behind. Its fist passed through him, not through as in phasing, through as in the clone existed and then at the point of contact stopped existing, like pressing a shadow against a sun. Existence erasure, individual. The limbo clone was deleted, not destroyed, not dispelled, deleted. removed from the fabric of existence so thoroughly that even the Rinnegan could no longer perceive the space where it had been. The second limbo clone hesitated, a shadow hesitating. Madara felt this through his connection and felt something he had not felt in a century, the sensation of being outclassed. The second clone was erased before it moved again. The third and fourth followed. Madara stood in the remains of his assault. Susanoo cracked, Chibaku Tensei dissolved, limbo clones erased, and breathed hard. The first hard breath in this fight. The first concession to physical limitation. He looked at Naruto. The galaxy eyes looked back. "What are you?" Madara asked. Not angry, not broken. The scientist's question, the seeker's question. The question of a man who has pursued the ultimate truth for a lifetime and suddenly found it standing in front of him in an orange jacket. In the mindscape, three voices considered the question. Bellicus. Tell him we're the thing he should have been afraid of. Serenum, we're the thing that believes in better. Naruto, I'll tell him what's true. The decision maker, Naruto said. Madara closed his eyes. The Rinnegan dimmed behind the lids. His face, ancient, lined, carrying a century of conviction, shifted, not into fear, not into surrender, into recognition. He had seen the Sage of Six Paths' legacy play out across the generations. He had watched power shape the world and watched the world shape itself around power. He had built a plan so vast it spanned human lifetimes, and he was standing in its ruins, looking at the thing that had rendered it irrelevant. Not a stronger ninja, not a better strategist, not a rival clan or a competing ideology, a fundamental obsolescence. A boy whose existence made the plan unnecessary because the boy could simply decide the plan was over and reality would agree. Then decide, Madara said. Naruto decided. He turned first to Obito. The masked man was standing where Madara had left him, watching, silent, the Sharingan in his mask hole spinning with something that was not combat readiness, but something older and more tired. Temporal reversal, targeted, Obito Uchiha. The technique reached into Obito's timeline, not into his body, into his choices. The specific moment that Madara's ideology entered him, the specific neural pathway that had been activated in the cave when a broken boy watched the world through a dying man's filter and decided that the world was not worth its reality. That moment was found. That pathway was unwound. Not the grief stayed, because the grief was real and belonged to Obito and could not be taken without taking part of who he was. Not the loss of Rin, that stayed too, because Rin had lived and mattered, and her absence was the shape of something that had existed. But the nihilism, the infinite Tsukuyomi, the mask, the name Toby, the decades of manipulation, that was not Obito's. That was Madara's, planted in a broken boy like a seed in scorched earth. And that was what Naruto unwound. The mask cracked. Not from force, from within. Like something behind it was expanding, pushing outward, becoming too real for the persona to contain. The orange swirl fractured and fell away in pieces, revealing a face underneath that was scarred and tired and young in a way that the mask had hidden. Obito blinked. His Sharingan was still active, but the quality of it was different. Not predatory, not calculating. Confused. He looked at his hands, one flesh, one Hashirama white, and then at the landscape, and then at Madara, and then at the pieces of his mask on the ground. He sat down, right there in the dirt at the edge of the river. He put his face in his hands. Behind Naruto, 20 feet back, Kakashi had arrived, because of course he had. Minato had not been able to stop him. Kakashi had felt something, not through any technique, but through the bond that existed between people who had once been a team. And he had come. He was standing there, Sharingan uncovered, looking at a dead man sitting in the dirt. Obito, Kakashi said. Obito didn't look up. Kakashi stood there and did not move and did not speak again, because some situations required presence more than words, and Kakashi had never been good with words anyway. Naruto turned back to Madara. The old man was watching. The Rinnegan was active but passive, observing, not attacking. His Susanoo was gone. His techniques were gone. The plan was gone. Behind him, the landscape bore the scars of everything he'd thrown and everything that had failed. You get to live, Naruto said. But the plan is done. The infinite Tsukuyomi is done. The war is done. He paused. In the mindscape, Bellicus. I want to erase him from every timeline. I want to give him a hug, Naruto. We compromised. You get to live. Naruto said again, and be wrong, and know it. The words landed. Naruto watched them land, in the slight narrowing of Madara's eyes, in the almost imperceptible shift in his posture. Not a physical blow, something worse. The cosmic equivalent of showing someone a mirror and letting them see, with perfect clarity, that the century-spanning plan they had dedicated their entire existence to was built on a premise that a 15-year-old could disassemble with a sentence. Madara was quiet for a very long time. The river ran between them. The sky was clear. The scars of the fight were already fading, the landscape repairing itself, because Naruto had, somewhere between the last exchange and this one, casually voted to restore the terrain without mentioning it. You are an insufferable child, Madara said. I get that a lot, Naruto said. Madara looked at the sky, at the clouds, at the world that was, despite everything, still turning. Hashirama would have liked you, Madara said. And then he sat down, not gracefully, not with dignity, but the way a very old, very tired man sits down when the thing that kept him standing is finally, mercifully, gone. The war that should have consumed a generation lasted one afternoon. Reports flooded in from every village, armies standing down, battle plans shelved, the entire machinery of international conflict grinding to a halt as the news spread. The Akatsuki was done, the masked man was unmasked, the plan was over. Village leaders received the intelligence through official channels and could not process it. The Raikage, a man whose response to most problems was to punch them at high speed, read the report 3 times, punched his desk, read it again, and then sat in the debris of his desk for 20 minutes trying to understand how a single teenager from Konoha had dismantled the existential threat to the entire shinobi world by having what the report described as an internal committee meeting. The Tsuchikage, Onoki, old enough to remember the original Madara and spiteful enough to resent anyone who made his memories seem quaint, demanded a full accounting. The accounting was provided. It did not help. The accounting described techniques that had no theoretical basis, existence erasure, causal rewrite, dimensional compression, and provided no explanation for how they worked, because the explanation was a 15-year-old voted on it with 2 cosmic entities in his head. And that was not an explanation that fit any bureaucratic format. The Kazekage, Gaara, who had been leading the Sand Village since his father's death during the invasion, who governed with a quiet precision that startled everyone who remembered the monster he used to be, read the report and set it down and said simply, I know. Because Gaara knew. Gaara had been the first. The boy who had Shukaku ripped from his body by a child with stars in his eyes and felt, for the first time, the silence in his own head. He had rebuilt himself from that silence, became a leader, became a protector, became the thing he had always been underneath the demon. And he understood what Naruto was better than any Kaji or general or analyst, because he had seen it firsthand, and the scar of that seeing was shaped like freedom. Generals with nothing to command stood in empty war rooms. Diplomats with nothing to negotiate sat at tables set for arguments that would never happen. The 5 Kaji summit that was hastily convened 3 days after the border battle was the strangest political gathering in shinobi history. 5 of the most powerful leaders in the world, sitting in a semicircle, looking at each other, and trying to figure out what a world without an existential threat looked like. Minato represented Konoha. He sat in the Hokage's chair and answered questions with the measured calm of a man who had spent 15 years being surprised by his son and had gotten very good at maintaining composure under cosmically absurd circumstances. Lord Fourth, the Raikage said, leaning forward with the controlled aggression that was his default setting. Are you telling us that your son, your Genin son, personally neutralized the Akatsuki, defeated Madara Uchiha, and dismantled the infinite Tsukuyomi plan? That's correct. How? Minato paused. He thought about it. He thought about the kitchen table conversations and the crater in the training ground and the glass of water on Sasuke's nightstand and the 2 marbles and the way Naruto yawned at breakfast like a normal kid, even though he had just prevented the end of the world. He voted on it, Minato said. The summit was very quiet after that. Back in Konoha, Minato received the full post-action report in his office. He read it once, set it down, picked it up, read it again. put his face in his hands. Kushina read it over his shoulder. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I'm making ramen." Because some things were just beyond commentary. Naruto went to the desert. He went alone 3 days after the border battle, on a morning that was bright and dry and enormous. The desert of the land of wind stretched in every direction. Sand and sky and heat shimmer, and the kind of emptiness that isn't empty at all, but full of everything the world pushes to its edges. He found the place where the sand was deepest and the sky was widest, and the nearest human settlement was 200 miles in any direction. He stood there, feeling the sun on his face, and reached into his pocket. The marble, the compressed consciousness of Shukaku, the one tail, the Tanuki demon. It had been in his pocket since the Chunin exam invasion. Years of compressed existence in a glass bead that had ridden alongside lint and ramen coupons, and once, briefly, gone through the laundry because Naruto had forgotten to check his pockets, and Kushina had found it in the dryer and held it up with an expression that suggested she had questions she was not going to ask. He held the marble up to the sunlight. It caught the light and refracted it. Tiny rainbows scattered across his palm. In the mindscape, destroy it. One less problem. Serena, give it a place. Give it freedom. Naruto, freedom, but with a boundary. Somewhere it can exist without hurting anyone and without being hurt. Bellicus, that sounds like a lot of effort for a sand demon. That sounds like the right thing to do. Vote. Fine, but make it a boring dimension. I don't want the thing having fun. Bellicus. What? I'm allowed conditions. Motion carried. Dimensional creation contained biome. Naruto extended his free hand and pressed his will into the fabric of space. Between dimensions, in the gap that exists between one reality and the next, he carved a pocket. Not a prison. There were no walls, no chains, no seals. A world, small but real. Desert terrain, endless sand, warm sky, a sun that moved in lazy circles above dunes that rose and fell with a wind that existed because Naruto decided wind should exist there. Caves for shelter, canyons for exploration, space for a being the size of a mountain to exist at full scale without threatening anything. He opened the marble. Shukaku erupted outward. Compressed existence expanding, consciousness unfurling, the full, enormous, furious Tanuki demon reassembling itself from a state of compressed stasis into its natural form. It was massive. Gold and blue, sand and hatred, a towering beast that opened its mouth and roared at the desert sky with the accumulated rage of years of compression. Then it stopped, because it was not sealed, not bound, not inside a host. Just standing under a sky, in a space that was its own. Shukaku looked around. The sand was familiar, the sky was warm, the wind was real. It looked at Naruto through the opening in reality that connected this pocket dimension to the real world. Its yellow eyes were massive and ancient and complicated. It did not say thank you. Shukaku was a primordial entity made of cursed chakra and sand, and the kind of cosmic fury that predates language. It did not do gratitude, but it nodded, once. A massive, slow, tectonic movement of its enormous head that could have been acknowledgement or could have been the wind. Naruto chose to believe it was the former. The opening sealed. The pocket dimension closed. Shukaku existed, in its own world, free for the first time in its existence. Naruto put the Geto Mazo marble back in his pocket. One marble now, not two. He rattled it. Significantly quieter. He went home. Months passed. The world rearranged itself around the new reality. A reality in which the most powerful entity in existence was a teenager in the Hidden Leaf Village who ate ramen 5 times a week and argued with the voices in his head about what color to paint his bedroom. The bedroom argument lasted 3 days. Bellicus wanted black. Serena wanted gold. Naruto wanted orange. They compromised on blue, which satisfied no one, which Naruto considered a success because the art of compromise was not about satisfaction, but about moving forward. He was getting very philosophical about the vote system. Serena was proud. Bellicus was disgusted. Sasuke trained. Every day, no Orochimaru, no curse mark, no dark power-ups, just a boy with a Sharingan and a kunai and the specific, quiet, steel-hard determination that comes from having a goal that is not destruction. His goal had changed. He did not talk about it because Sasuke did not talk about things, but Kakashi saw it in the way Sasuke trained, not to kill, not to avenge, but to master, to be excellent at the thing he'd been born to do, to stand in a world where his best friend could fold reality like paper and not be useless. It was a healthier motivation than Kakashi had dared to hope for. He trained Sasuke accordingly, seriously, rigorously, with the focus and investment of a teacher who finally, after years of broken students and dead teammates, had something to build instead of mourn. Sasuke's Sharingan matured, his Chidori variants multiplied, his taijutsu sharpened into something fluid and deadly, and entirely his own, not copied, not borrowed, not stolen from a snake's curriculum. His Itachi came to visit, twice a month, then weekly, then whenever he felt like it. He was healthy now. The biological restoration had not just healed his illness, but had given his body the baseline it should have had if years of overuse and disease hadn't consumed it. He was strong again. Not Naruto strong. Nobody was Naruto strong. But Itachi Uchiha strong, which was still strong enough to make Anbu nervous. He and Sasuke trained together. It was awkward at first, the weight of everything between them making the air thick. But combat has a way of cutting through awkwardness. And there is something fundamentally clarifying about trying to hit your brother with a fireball. They sparred. They talked between bouts. Sometimes Itachi won, sometimes Sasuke won. The winning didn't matter. The brothers on the same field, under the same sky, breathing the same air, that mattered. One afternoon, Sasuke and Naruto were eating lunch at the training ground. Side by side, backs against a tree, bentos open, the post-training ease of two people who had spent the morning trying to outperform each other and were now too tired to maintain any pretense. Sasuke ate in silence for a long time. Then, between bites of rice, without looking at Naruto, without making a big deal of it, "Thank you. For the valley." Naruto glanced at him. "You already said that." Sasuke's jaw tightened. "I've never said that." Naruto was quiet for a beat. "Yeah, you hadn't." They ate. The tree behind them was warm from the sun. The training ground was quiet. In the mindscape, Bellicus had nothing to say, which was the loudest thing Bellicus had ever not said. Serena was warm. So warm that the physical air around Naruto and Sasuke shimmered slightly, like heat rising from summer asphalt. Sasuke noticed the shimmer, looked at it, looked at Naruto. "Was that your committee?" "Serena. She gets emotional." And they finished lunch. They went back to training. The world kept turning. The evening that mattered, the one that the story had been building toward since the first page, since a baby opened galaxy eyes and decided the night was over, came on a Tuesday. There was nothing special about the Tuesday. No invasion, no Akatsuki threat, no cosmic crisis requiring a 3-voice vote. It was a Tuesday in Konoha in late autumn, with leaves falling and the air smelling like wood smoke, and the village wrapped in the golden light of a day that was ending. The way days are supposed to end. Slowly, gently, without apocalypse. Naruto came home from training. He kicked off his sandals at the door, which Kushina had told him 1,000 times to place neatly, and which he had ignored 1,000 times because some battles even omnipotence couldn't win. He walked into the kitchen. The table was set. 3 places, 3 bowls. Ramen, Kushina's special miso, the one with the extra pork, the one that she made on days that mattered even when nothing official said they should. Minato was already sitting. His Hokage coat was hung on the back of his chair. His hair was down, not styled, the way it only was at home, where he was not the 4th Hokage, but just Minato. He looked tired, the good kind of tired. The kind that comes from a full day of work in a village that was not under attack and did not need saving. Kushina came from the stove with the pot. She was humming something, Serena's influence probably, since Kushina only hummed when there was an inexplicable warm breeze in the kitchen, and Serena had been sending those breezes for 15 years without anyone officially acknowledging it. Naruto sat down. The chair creaked. The table was the same table it had always been, scratched, slightly uneven, bearing the marks of 1,000 meals eaten by a family that should have died the night it began and hadn't, because a newborn baby voted against it. They ate. They talked. Minato mentioned the trade agreement with the Sand Village that Gaara had proposed. Favorable terms, generous. The kind of deal that only a leader who understood debt and gratitude and freedom would offer. Kushina mentioned that the new ramen shop on 5th Street was overcharging for menma, and she was considering having a word with the owner, which Minato gently suggested might cause an international incident, given that Kushina's words tended to involve volume. Naruto mentioned that Sasuke had almost landed a hit on him during training. Almost? Minato asked. His Chidori stream got within 3 feet before the vote passed. That's impressive. Don't tell him I said that. I won't. Mom, don't tell him either. Kushina, who had already been reaching for the communication scroll she used to send messages to Sakura, who would inevitably tell Sasuke, froze mid-reach. I would never. Normal. Tuesday normal. The kind of normal that should have been unremarkable but wasn't, because every moment of normalcy in this family was a miracle that had been voted into existence by a newborn 15 years ago. The ramen was eaten. The bowls were empty. Kushina started to clear the table. Minato helped. Naruto stayed in his chair, not because he was lazy, but because the moment felt like something he should stay inside of. Minato set the last bowl in the sink and turned back to the table. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed, and looked at his son. Really looked. The way he'd been looking for 15 years, with love and awe and a terror that had dimmed over time but never fully gone. Are you happy? Minato asked. It was a strange question after everything. After the 9 tails and the Chunin exams and the invasions and pain and Madara and the marbles and the votes and the years of cosmic impossibility that had defined their lives. It was a strange question because it was simple. And nothing about their lives was simple, but it was the right question. It was the only question that mattered, the question that existed underneath every other question. The question that every parent asks regardless of whether their child is ordinary or omnipotent. Are you okay? Is the life we gave you enough? Have we done this right? Naruto thought about it honestly. He did what he always did. He checked in. In the mindscape, the void was quiet. Stars everywhere. The accumulated lights of 15 years of votes and victories, and the 2 small stars Serena had placed for the Anbu, who died during Pain's attack, and the uncountable others that existed simply because the cosmos had to put its light somewhere. Bellicus stood in his section. The red-black energy was low, banked, almost warm. He did not answer the question. He did not need to. His silence was its own answer. The silence of something that had spent an eternity raging and had found in the tight confines of a 15-year-old skull something worth being quiet for. Serena floated in hers. Her light was steady. The warmth that she radiated, the warmth that made kitchen breezes and inexplicable good weather and glasses of water appear on nightstands, pulsed once. Gently, the cosmic equivalent of a nod, Naruto came back to the kitchen, to the Tuesday evening, to the table with the scratches and the father with the question and the mother at the sink who had stopped washing dishes because she was listening the way Kushina always listened, with her whole body, her whole heart, her whole ferocious, unconditional, ladle-wielding soul. Yeah, Naruto said. I think I am. Kushina reached across the table and squeezed his hand. She didn't say anything because some things didn't need to be said, and Kushina Uzumaki had always known which things those were. Her grip was warm and strong and shaking slightly, the way it shook when the love was too big for the container, and she held on for a long time, and Naruto held on back, and Minato watched them from the counter and felt something in his chest that was too large and too good and too much, and he closed his eyes against it and let it be. They finished the dishes. Kushina washed. Naruto dried. Minato put them away. The rhythm was the same as it had always been. 1,000 identical evenings, the muscle memory of a family that had learned to be normal in the shadow of the abnormal. They talked about nothing. They laughed about less. At one point, Naruto flicked water at Kushina, and she flicked back, and Minato got caught in the crossfire again, and the kitchen floor got wet again, and the ceiling fan squeaked on the 3rd rotation, and the night was Tuesday, and the family was whole. Naruto brushed his teeth, changed into pajamas, the plain ones, white shirt and shorts, no stars. Lay on his bed, arms behind his head, staring at the ceiling. The ceiling fan squeaked. The water stain shaped like a shuriken was still there. The crack in the corner from Kushina's cooking was a little longer than last year. He closed his eyes. The mindscape opened. The void was there, the way it always was, infinite and black and scattered with stars that pulsed like slow heartbeats. The 3 presences occupied their spaces, the way they always had, the way they always would, for as long as Naruto existed, and maybe longer. Bellicus stood in his corner. The red-black energy was banked low. Embers, not fire, not diminished, settled, the mountain at rest. He looked at Naruto the way he always looked, with the intensity of something that had been made from rage and had spent an eternity defining itself through destruction, and had found in the past 15 years something it did not want to destroy. Serena floated in her corner. The white gold light was steady, not blazing, not urgent, the candle at peace. She looked at Naruto the way she always looked, with the tenderness of something that had been made from love and had spent an eternity defining itself through compassion, and had found in the past 15 years someone who needed both her compassion and her silence and knew the difference between them. Naruto stood between them. Pajamas in the mindscape. Bellicus had stopped complaining about the pajamas 3 years ago, which was either growth or resignation, and was probably both. The void was quiet. No vote pending. No crisis. No world to save. No enemy to face. No impossible choice requiring 3 ancient voices to find consensus. Just 3 consciousnesses spaced that existed outside of time. The stars turned. Slow. Ancient. Beautiful in the way that old things are beautiful. Not because they are new or surprising, but because they have endured. And endurance is its own form of light. Naruto looked at the stars. His stars, the ones that lived behind his eyes, that spun when he was angry and blazed when he was scared, and dimmed when he was tired and shone, always shone, even in the darkest corners of the void. They were his. They were him. The universe inside the boy, inside the village, inside the world. He looked at Bellicus. Bellicus looked back. He looked at Serena. Serena looked back. "What do we do now?" Naruto asked. The question hung in the void. It was not rhetorical. It was not cosmic. It was the question of a 15-year-old at the end of a long story, standing in the space between everything he'd done and everything he hadn't yet, asking the only 2 beings who had been with him since the first second of his life what came next. Bellicus was quiet for a long time. The red-black energy shifted, not surging, not diminishing, settling into a shape that might have been, if you squinted, if you tilted your head, if you were willing to see it, at ease. "Whatever we want," Bellicus said. Serena's light flickered. "That's not an answer. It's the best one." Naruto considered this. He looked at the void, at the stars, at the 2 ancient, impossible, infuriating, essential beings who had been his burden and his prison and his power and his family since the night a fox tried to destroy everything and a baby said no. He smiled. Not the tired smile. Not the cosmic smile. Not the diplomatic smile he used for Kages, or the reassuring smile he used for his parents, or the careful smile he used when Bellicus said something that was technically funny, but also a war crime. A real smile, a kid's smile. The smile of someone who had carried a universe inside him for 15 years and had finally, after all the votes and the debates and the crises and the quiet moments and the ramen and the loss and the love, made peace with the weight. "Motion carried," he said. The void settled. The stars dimmed, not fading but resting. The cosmic equivalent of closing your eyes after a long day. Bellicus's energy banked to its lowest, a deep warm glow in the dark. Serena's light steadied to a single, perfect, unwavering point. The mindscape went quiet. Truly quiet. The kind of quiet that is not emptiness but fullness. The silence of a room where everyone has said what they needed to say, and the only thing left is the shared knowledge that they are, all 3 of them, exactly where they are supposed to be. In his bed, in his room, in his house in Konoha, Naruto Uzumaki slept. The ceiling fans squeaked on the 3rd rotation. The village was quiet. The world was whole. And somewhere inside him, in the infinite dark between the stars, 2 ancient voices rested with the boy who carried them. And the dark was full of light.
You just watched a 12-year-old boy put a tailed beast in his pocket and send his best friend home for bedtime. If that didn't break your brain, subscribe because the next story is coming soon and y'all are not ready, and neither are we.